barricades whisper in the hall, where justice wears a mask and truth begins to fall. Every thread they pull, every lie they weave, in the courtroom's dance, who's left to believe? Oh, the devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end. The devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end in sight. A photograph fades where the truth once stood, blurred lines between the bad and the good. The scales they tilt with every silver tongue, while the broken cry for a song unsung. Black robes sway like shadows on the wall, one wrong word and the mighty fall. Who's a sinner? Who's a saint? The jury's out, but the verdict's faint. Oh, the devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end. The devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end in sight.
Ladies and gentlemen, do you want to know why I'm here today? It's not because I want to give you a pep talk or because I want to make you feel good about yourselves. No, I'm here to tell you the truth.
All right, it's Friday night. Is my microphone on? Give me a wave backstage if you guys hear me backstage. Fantastic. Okay, good. We've got a Friday night show. Joe and I, at least, are tipping a few drinks, and so this could be sloppy. Who knows how this is going to go? Of course, Joe's just getting started. I'm well into it. I'll tell you that much. But anyways, it's a great night. Friday night, I'm feeling a little loose. And by the way, I heard this morning, Harsh Reality just solved the case. Every time someone texts me and tells me, "Oh my God, Pavarotti just solved the case for the 37th time," or now I heard this was a new one. Harsh Reality just solved the case. I don't mean to be light on Harsh Reality or Pavarotti. That's not who I'm picking fun at. I'm picking fun at everybody thinking that every new piece of information solves the case. You have to understand, this case is not going to get solved by this case. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, Idaho 4 is not going to get solved with a piece of information or a new piece of detail. That doesn't solve the case. Keep in mind, Brian Koberger has pled guilty, and it's going to take a lot more than just a piece of information that's going to change everything. It's going to be an uphill battle, and it's going to take lots and lots of work. But we do have things to talk about. I plan on talking with my panel tonight about that email that Harsh Reality read on air, an email that he got. I'm going to tell you the things that I saw that were interesting, the things that I thought that gave me serious red flags about its authenticity, and the things that I think are worth talking about. And then I want to get my panel's discussion as well on what they think about that letter. In addition, I want to tell you, I think Joe was also reminding me of something I saw earlier, which was a comment about Brian Koberger possibly having a new defense team. That part I didn't catch, Joe, but and I'll bring Joe up in a second so he can actually respond to what I'm saying. I didn't catch that he may have a new defense team, but I did catch the message about the license plate and the car. And here's, by the way, as an aside, before I bring my panel up, I got frustrated today. I went to the post office as my normal routine, and I had a FOIA request returned, address undeliverable, and it pisses me off because it was a FOIA request to the FBI about the vehicle, about Brian Koberger's fog lights in particular, and the questions and documents about the FBI agent who identified it as a 2011 to 13 Hyundai Elantra originally, and that FOIA request got returned because it was, after I double checked it, it was their old address. They've changed address, and apparently the fucking post office didn't forward it to the correct email or address, even though it's the correct old address. Pisses me off. So I got to start that whole thing all over again. By the way, let me say some hellos to people, and then I'll bring my panel up. Like, for example, Michelle, who's given me a donation. Thank you so much for supporting the show, and I'm glad that you love the show. Thank you very, very, very much. Essie's in the house. Amanda B., graphics specialist, and many other things. Jules Down Under. It sounds like an Australian thing. We have a very large Australian audience. Again, it seems like Australians actually are more into true crime than Americans per capita, it seems like. So that's a very cool thing, having our Australian family in the house. Dina Sites, or Dinah Sites, I think it's Dina, I don't know. 1855, I should probably get the pronunciation right. It's Crime Spy 2024, regular. Kathleen Bell, I got all kinds of cool names. Crystal Folco, that seems like a new name. Hey everyone, this is my first live. See, there you go. This is my first live in here. Looking forward to it. Fantastic. By the way, Robin, if you don't mind, before I bring you on stage, go ahead and fire off the link to join us backstage. This is a great night because Dago is not going to be able to join us tonight, so we're a little short-handed. So it's a great night to come up on stage and share your opinions. Keep your comments and your opinions for the moment a little brief, and let the panel respond to your questions and comments. We want to try to get to a point where we're rotating some people in for short, brief conversations. If there's nothing else going on, of course, feel free to hang out with us and continue a conversation. But anyways, we want to try to get some questions up here and get some answers and interact with the people a little bit. Denarius Tagarian, welcome as well, and Teresa, Becca, and names ad nauseum. Not ad nauseum. It doesn't make me nauseous to read your names. That was a horrible thing to say. Rochelle Fiscus. That seems like a relatively new name, although it kind of sounds familiar. In Stitches. That's new for me. I haven't seen In Stitches before, I don't think. Here for the Truth Now is a regular. Looks like Penny is in here. There's got a whole bunch of different names that I see all the time. Also a new name. So this is very, very cool. Simply Solo. That seems like a new one. Bebe Fern, I think that's somebody who's been here before as well. Suzanne Sharp, ouch, that seems like a new one. Anyways, very cool to see all the new names and old names. Troubled Ocean as well. Christine Hurd, a regular, and on and on and on. I could go on forever, but I guess I should, without further ado, bring my guest panelists up. And again, I'm going to bring them up in the order that they're backstage. It has no order of preference or anything like that, but let's bring Robin up and say hello to Robin. How you doing tonight, Robin?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much, sir. I see you have one of your big ass cups.
Yeah, this is not coffee, bitch. Sorry, I never call you a bitch. Yeah. It's my line. I said that one time on Birdie's show. I remember, like, this isn't coffee, bitch.
This is not coffee, bitch. That was great. So, hey,
by the way, before
everybody out in the den, how are you tonight? Glad to be here with everybody, of course, as always.
Did I tell you, Robin, my calling my female coworker bitch story that almost got me in HR?
No.
So I'll try to be brief. Key and Peele used to have a sketch comedy show, you know, the Key and Peele show, and they had they had a sketch where they would be talking about how they would say to their wives, bitch, like, you know, I didn't say that, or bitch this or bitch that, right? And it was a kind of a joke. And I had a female coworker who worked under me who loved that skit as much as I did. And so we got super friendly with each other. And I would say to her, bitch, if I wanted a stapler, I would fucking ask for a stapler. Right. And so I got used to talking to her that way. Well, I had a female boss, and one day she was in the office, and I said to my coworker, bitch, if I wanted coffee, I would have asked for a coffee. And she's like, oh my God, get in my office right now. And she chewed my ass. You cannot talk to people like that. You need to go see HR. I was like, hold on a second. This is a running joke. That's not funny. And I'm like, so literally my female coworker had to come in and say, no, look, it's okay. Like I call him bitch too. Like it's a mutual thing. But yeah, I got myself in trouble with that. So.
Oh my God, that's great. Love it.
All right, let's bring Joe up on stage. Sorry for being shouty. For those of you who don't have your volume down low enough, I got a little shouty there on that story. I get excited. But what's up, Joe? Oh, you're muted. You're muted. You are muted. Go.
I unmuted it. I think you hijacked my audio interface.
I didn't touch. Okay, but anyways, go ahead. What's up?
Yeah. How you guys doing? DA,
Good.
Robin, Dan?
Good. Oh yeah, I put you backstage, but I didn't mute you. But anyways, I shouldn't have muted you. But anyways, it's good to see you. I saw that you tipped your wine. You're muted again. I didn't do it.
Nobody's touching.
I didn't touch it. We're all hands off, dude. We're not touching the mic. What's going on? You're still muted. Okay, let me try to unmute you. Hold on.
Yeah, you were muting me. My audio interface is on.
I didn't touch the keyboard. I swear to God.
I'm looking at my audio interface and it's not muted. It's got a light and something's glitching. That's what it is.
It's probably the FBI. I think the FBI is watching our show now, and they're probably in here wanting to shut you up because you're so smart. They're like, that guy fucking doesn't need a microphone.
Yeah, it happened twice already. Like it's something muted me, and my audio interface is on. So I don't know. Yeah. Sorry, Dan.
I don't get it. Yeah, I didn't touch the keyboard. I don't know what's happening, but it's weird. But here, you're unmuted. It's good. I don't know.
I'm here. I'm unmuted.
Yeah. So welcome
and uncensored.
To the show. Uncensored, yeah. I would put the parental advisory thing up on the screen, but then it goes over your face when you go to the corner like this. In fact, see, the chat is over 1-1's face. 1-1, how you doing tonight?
Good evening, Dan. Hi, JJ. Hi, Robin. Hi, Lee.
I'm fighting the urge to mute you in the middle of you talking just to fuck with you. I'm not gonna do it. So
I have to admit, I muted JJ.
Did you?
I deserve it.
The second time.
The second time you did. Yeah. See, I told you it wasn't me, Joe.
East Coast guys like when you fuck with them. So bring it on, 1-1.
It's very, very, very true.
I remember that. I'm on the East Coast.
Yeah. What is it with all the East Coasters on the show? Yeah. So we won't have, like I said, we won't have Dago tonight. Did you want to give us a rounding intro?
Sure.
Tonight?
You know I have one.
I know you do.
All right. Is it good to be alive in the den on a Friday night?
Yes.
Let's go. You're not here by accident. Something didn't sit right. Story felt too clean. A conclusion came too fast. So you kept digging. Welcome to Devil's Advocates. This is where certainty gets questioned, where narratives get stress tested, and where everyone agrees means absolutely nothing. We don't chase villains or heroes. We chase what survives scrutiny. Because the loudest story isn't always the truest one. It's just the one repeated the most. Here, we slow the chaos down. We line up timelines. We separate evidence from emotion, facts from feelings, and truth from what's convenient. We ask the questions that don't trend well. We revisit the moments people rush past. We challenge conclusions, not to be contrarian, but to be honest. Because justice doesn't fear questions. Only weak narratives do. On this show, nothing is off limits. Not theories, not officials, not popular opinions, and not us. If a claim can't stand up to pressure, it doesn't belong here. This isn't outrage content. This isn't courtroom theater. This is disciplined doubt, and doubt is powerful. If you're here for comfort, this isn't it. If you're here to be told what to think, you won't be. But if you're here to challenge your own assumptions, to listen before deciding, to follow facts wherever they lead, then you're in the right place. Because someone has to ask, what if we're wrong? Someone has to stand in the fire and argue the other side. We are those someones. This is the Devil's Advocates. And with that, live from New York, it's Friday night.
Thank you so much for the nice little intro. Well done, well done. Appreciate it very much. Good to see everyone tonight. This may be it as far as the panel goes tonight. We had a guest join up backstage and then immediately say, hey, I'm going to dinner. I'll be back in an hour. So so our guest is queued up, which was great, but not going to be there for quite a while. So we'll try to periodically check in and ask if our guest is back, or maybe our guest will just tell us when they're back. If anybody else wants to join us on stage, by the way, don't have terrible camera shy. You can leave your camera off. You could just go audio, or if you want to have your camera on, you can do that as well. We don't bite. We're almost always very, very polite to our guests. In fact, I would say we've never been rude to a guest, right? We don't think we've ever had a rude conversation with a guest.
Isn't it a requirement, DA, that they smoke a blunt, though, before they come on?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I
I'm
should have put that in
certain
the
a guest or two has done that before coming on. I don't know if it's a requirement, but yeah, no, there's no requirement for any kind of activity like that, and it's not legal in every state and not federally all that good stuff. But, anyways. And in our state of Oregon, however, it has been decriminalized, and I'm fighting the urge to go through explaining to people the difference between something that's legal and decriminalized, which are two different things. But we'll avoid that. Even though this is an educational channel, I like to educate people on topics like that, like just that. Like, what's the difference? Well, I thought it was legal. It's not legal. It's decriminalized. There's a completely different thing. I said I wasn't going to go into it. Here I am fucking going into it, but that's what I do. So let me ask you guys around the horn if you guys have any topic off the top of your head other than that big letter that came out that everybody was talking to. I got like 4 text messages this morning saying, oh my God, have you seen Harsh Reality's new video? So other than that, put that aside for a moment. Is there any other big topics that you guys saw today or thought that Ask want to know if I know about or whatever today?
Well, for me, not to do with Idaho 4, but apparently with the LISK case, actually Andrew Dykes, Joe Jackalone, I don't know how familiar one is with him. Anyway, he has contacts that say that the probable cause for that arrest of Andrew Dykes is not good.
Nice. Interesting.
Yeah. Or there is no probable cause is what I should have said.
So on what basis did they make the arrest? Do you know?
That's just it. He's trying to find out, but his contacts are telling him that there was really no probable cause for him to be arrested in Florida. So just real briefly for those who don't know, and you know that brevity is not my freaking strong suit, but I will try to be brief. For those who don't know what she's talking about, one of the cases I follow 5 cases pretty heavily, and a 6th case is kind of a bonus case. I cover the Idaho 4 case, Long Island serial killer case. That's the one that Robin's talking about. Luigi Mangione, alleged shooter of Brian Thompson in New York. That's another case I follow. Mickey Steins, the guy that shot the judge in the judge's chambers. That's not a question. We know he did. The question is why. As far as I'm concerned, it's not a question. And also now Delphi, Richard Allen's appeal that he's filing and for a wrongful conviction. Now, it used to be Charlie Kirk that we would cover as well, and Tyler Robinson, the alleged shooter of Charlie Kirk, but that's kind of taken a backseat to Richard Allen's appeal, which is a much hotter topic right now because that appeal is currently in process. And also the Kirk situation is very, very political, and I want to maybe avoid the politics situation. But for those who are not familiar with what
Robin was just talking about, we are very interested in the LISK case. And in the LISK case, Rex Heuermann, originally they said that there was a group, the Gilgo Beach serial killer, and the Gilgo 4 bodies were found. And then they added more and more bodies that they said, hey, look, we've got a serial killer in Long Island that we're calling. And it started out as the Gilgo Beach killer, essentially. And then it turned into the Long Island serial killer as the breadth of bodies started moving further and further out from just Gilgo Beach. And one of those early victims was a victim known as Peaches. And Peaches they also found had a baby that was found. Was it 7 miles away from where the mother was found? I can't remember.
Something like that.
Yeah. And I think Peaches also was dismembered. I think her torso was found in one place.
Yes.
And so
yep.
Where I'm going with that is they've long attributed and believed that was part of the serial killer's MO. And I, among many people, said, it doesn't make sense to me that the same killer that puts people in burlap bags and drops them on Gilgo Beach within a very short span of each other is the same who are intact and bound and in burlap bags, is the same person that chops people up and puts them in garbage bags or containers, dismembers them and puts their head in one place and their body in another place. And nor is it the same kind of guy who's going after sex workers who are petite, small female sex workers, and also an Asian male, and also a female that doesn't fit the MO of all the rest, and a baby. Like, all of those killers don't sound like the same killer to me. So recently it came out, while Rex Heuermann is not actually being charged with Peach's murder, it has long been considered to be potentially one of the Gilgo Beach murderers' kills. But they just basically decided not to go after him because they didn't have any direct DNA evidence linking him like they do on the 7 others that they're charging Rex Heuermann with. But anyways, recently it had come out that a man by the name of Andrew Dykes, is that right, Robin?
Yes.
Yeah, and Andrew Dykes. It turns out Andrew Dykes allegedly had a relationship. Was he a husband or was he just a boyfriend?
No, they were boyfriend and girlfriend. He had an affair with Tanya.
Okay.
He
so
was
Tanya,
still married.
Tanya Jackson is the name, right? Is the last name for. So Tanya Jackson ended up being identified relatively recently as Peaches, and the toddler was identified as her toddler. They were separated from each other by quite a ways. And then Andrew Dykes came up recently as a man who had a relationship with Tanya, and that the child was his child and their child. And now he's been arrested for the murder of Peaches, or Tanya Jackson, and their child. But as Robin was just saying, and so I made a video, for those who don't know, I made a video about how this is the reason why we have to be careful about Rex Heuermann. Is Rex Heuermann truly the killer of all those bodies? Or are they just taking the easy route out and saying, we've got all these cold cases, let's blame it on a serial killer, even when the MOs don't seem to match? Because I don't think the same killer that does one type of crime is probably doing the same, even though they want to tell you, oh, he just evolved, he changed his tactics over time, whatever. I've always suggested that this looks like more than one killer. And that was what I did a video on, is, does this prove that Long Island is a dumping ground for bodies, and it's more than one killer that's dumping bodies? And so with the arrest of Andrew Jackson, I made a big deal about it. But like Robin's saying, now we have reasons to question whether Andrew Jackson is, or not Andrew Dykes. Sorry, Andrew Dykes.
Andrew Dykes.
Andrew Dykes is truly the one who killed her as well. So does that leave us with questions that it could be Rex again, or is it just back to we don't know who it is, or so?
Yeah. It's that cautionary tale that you're always saying, Lee, is, you can't get that kind of tunnel vision and, just assume.
And what was the other case? Gosh, I keep forgetting his name. The other male that was involved with 2 murders that DNA just recently excluded Rex Heuermann from, and
Bitroff.
I keep forgetting Bitroff's name.
John Bitroff.
John Bitroff. Yeah. Do you know much about that story? To talk about that story a bit for us? Or?
It was right around the same time as all that was going on. It was Sandra Castillo and oh my gosh, her name went right out of my head. Anyway.
Yeah. I had the same problem with Bitroff, apparently.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, her name was. Anyway, they attributed these two women also originally with Rex, and then they found John Bitroff's DNA on these two women, and so now he's in jail for this. Of course, he was convicted and everything, but his lawyers tried to get more evidence on Rex. They're going back and forth, you know, who really killed these two women. Well, so far everything is excluding Rex from their murders.
Yeah.
So John Petroff is still considered guilty of but it just is so weird because there's all these people winding up dead in this relatively small area and different MOs. And so there's this, you know, are there more than one serial killer? Is there a ring?
Well, I mean,
that's one thing that's been posited for a long time now.
right, and there has been cases of serial killers working in tandem and in parallel.
Mhm.
I did a video a long
Right.
time ago about the difference between parallel serial killers and tandem serial killers. And one and I drove that Long Island stretch looking for places to dump bodies. I mean, it's a good place to dump bodies. It's got some
Mhm.
benefits for dumping bodies. By the way, I was surprised when I went to New York that the entire state seems to be just covered in fucking trees. Like there's trees everywhere. Like you could dump bodies everywhere. Like, and I say that because I'm coming from Washington State, where on the east side of the state there's like no trees. It's like desert over here. So I was like, man, there's fucking trees everywhere here. But Joe, have you followed much LISK? I mean, I know it's not your biggest kind of case, but how versed are you in the Long Island serial killer case?
I watched some videos, and then I watched that that documentary. Was it Gone Girls?
Mm-hmm.
And I watched that. And I watched videos, like stuff on YouTube about it. I'm not as up on it as you guys are, obviously, but I did get somewhat familiar with it, and that documentary was very good. I thought it was pretty good. It seemed to me, I not knowing that much, like it was fairly thorough. They addressed a lot of different aspects of it.
Yeah.
So obviously I'm not as up on it as you guys are.
Yeah.
As far as Gone Girls go, I will say, for those who do want to come up to speed on the Long Island serial killer case, and I recommend you do, because we are going to cover it pretty heavily, and we're really interested also in the peripheral case of Shannon Gilbert and the disappearance of Shannon Gilbert back in 2010, I think it was. But John Ray, the attorney that's been trying to get justice about what happened to Shannon Gilbert, she's not officially attributed to Rex Heuermann, but we think it may be related, and so we've been on that trail. But so if you're interested, Gone Girls is a great documentary on Netflix. I will give you my warning. I felt episode 1 for me of that 3-part documentary was a little bit of a snooze fest. I wasn't super intrigued. I wasn't super interested in it. Episode 2 came and I just about pissed myself. I'm like, this case is so my case. Like when it got into the chief of police using prostitutes and drugs and getting arrested for threatening to kill an inmate in his custody, and then the prosecutor going to jail for covering shit up, I was like, this is my case all day long, every day. I was super excited about it. So it goes off the hook, in my opinion, on episode 2.
Well, the interesting thing that I took from it when I watched that documentary, because I think that was the first thing I watched, and then after that I watched YouTube videos.
Yeah,
it was pretty blunt. It was like, yeah, there were a lot of drugs and sex. It was you know, that one girl was talking about how she was with Rex Heuermann. I think they were doing cocaine, and it got into the darker, seedier side of the case pretty quick.
Yeah.
Right. Probably to your point in the second episode, it got
dark. Yeah.
Yeah. The darker shit. And
I can explain the Bitroff a little bit if you want.
Let's do that real quick. One, go ahead and explain. But I want to let know. Somebody asked about, do I think the email has truth in it? And I know that a lot of our audience is Idaho 4. So bear
Wow.
with us. Bear with us while we talk a little bit more about LISK. Let one talk about the Bitroff situation a little bit, and then we'll wrap up and we'll move to that email very specifically and what we think about that email.
All right.
So,
Yeah, it's a quick. It's not long, just so people understand what it is. So, it's a little bit of info, since I know more people are familiar with Idaho 4. So, in 2017, John Bitroff was convicted of killing 2 women, Rita Tangradi and Colleen McNamee. I don't know, however you say her last name. His conviction was based primarily on the presence of his DNA on both Colleen and Rita. The manner of death related to each of them is truly horrific, and the families have been shattered by the murders. The loss of each has been profound, and the attention has been and will always be debilitating. John Bitroff has always maintained his innocence. His family has stood by him and supported him. Recently, the attorneys for John Bitroff have filed several motions, called 400 motions, to have his conviction vacated. With permission, this is a memorandum of law filed with Suffolk County on January 3rd, 2025, in which attorneys for John Bitroff outline the reasons why they are seeking to vacate the 2 25 to life convictions. Within this document, I'm not going to read the document, just the main points from it. Within this document, attorneys outline some very intriguing points. Critical evidence that was never tested, lack of Bitroff's DNA at the crime scenes, presence of other unknown DNA contributors, statements made by ADA Robert Biancavilla, the long-held position that Bitroff remains a suspect in the murder of Sandra Castilla Spota, made statements that the similarities among Colleen, Rita, and Sandra indicate one killer for all 3. The arrest of Rex Heuermann for the murder of Sandra Castilla. There's a lot to be considered here, and there's a lot of questions that demand answers. There's also a lot of irony here. So that's just some info on Bitroff.
So yeah, appreciate that very much. I see that the Bitroff situation. I think, like you said, what they were trying to do is they were trying to say, look, Bitroff has always maintained his innocence in this crime. Maybe it was this serial killer you guys all know about. So let's make sure that it wasn't the serial killer. And when they tested the DNA, Rex Heuermann was excluded as being a potential contributor of DNA on those crimes. And that made a bunch of news. In fact, it was great clickbait for people because it was the headlines were Rex Heuermann has been excluded from a couple of murders. And it wasn't even the murders that he's being charged for. It was murders of Bitroff that they were saying, well, maybe Rex did it. And so the headlines, again, were designed to create attention. Rex Heuermann's not the killer of a couple of different murders. Big shocking news. And it's like, well, the shocking news is it wasn't even one murders that he was charged with in the first place. A lot of people are asking about the letter from Harsh Reality. And there's a couple ways we can do this. Somebody said, are we going to read the letter? I don't have a copy of the letter. The best I could do, and I don't know that we should do this for copyright reasons and stuff like that, is the best I could do is play Harsh Reality actually reading the letter to us verbatim. Or we can just summarize and talk about the summary. I don't know which way to do it. On the one hand, I favor...
It's whatever you want. I mean, the main thing, obviously there's 3 new people that he mentioned.
Yeah, so let me make an attempt to summarize the discussion and frame it, and then we can decide if we want to play the thing. So the claim that I understand, and you guys can correct me if I get the details wrong, the claim that I understand is Harsh Reality received an email from an individual who said that they had all kinds of details along with receipts, meaning a bunch of files that were sent to Harsh Reality to verify or to give confirmation of the things that they're saying. And in it, they were basically saying the following. And so I'm going to summarize now. They're basically saying the following. I know what happened. Brian Koberger is not guilty of the Idaho 4 murders. And here's what happened that night. And I'm going to give you some receipts to prove it. They started out that email by suggesting or saying that one of the reasons they're coming forward is that I think it was a cousin of theirs who they claimed was in a sorority with Dylan Mortensen, had committed suicide over their guilt or whatever in relation to this. And now they're coming forward because a family member has committed suicide over not being able to handle what's happening in this case. I will say, I and a couple of other people who've talked about this today said that gave us some red flags right off the bat because it's an attention getter. It's like, oh, look, somebody killed themselves over this, so you better pay attention because here's what happened. So take it for that grain of salt. Now, the contents of the letter named a whole bunch of people that I have never heard of before. And that was another thing that bothered me from the perspective of I need another fucking road to go down. I've already got
3 more people.
Theories. Listen, I've done a video ranking 27 different theories in this case. This is a whole fucking new one.
TA hates new theories.
Three Stooges, Mo, Curly, and Larry. Yeah.
So the gist of it, from what I understand, and by the way, I want to be careful because I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to conflate some things I know about that I heard about early in this case with what the email said. And I'll try to do my best to explain to you. The gist of it was an individual, and was the name Upton, last name, or what was the last name?
Do
you remember? I think it was like Upton. An individual, a couple of members, family members by the name, I think, of the Uptons, possibly. I'm trying to remember the exact name. That one of these individuals had dated Kaylee Gonzalez after Jack DeCour.
Reed is his name.
Reed was one of the names. Upmore. Yeah. Upmore is the name. Yeah. Okay. So the Upmores. All right. So one of the individuals had dated Kaylee after Jack DeCour. There was a in the email, they mentioned this individual being humiliated by Kaylee at a pool party. Now, this is where I'm going to go to tell you that I remember early in this case, there was an indication that one of the girls, and I think it was Kaylee, had publicly insulted a guy, and I'm just going to be blunt, about his dick size, saying he had a little dick, and was insulting him publicly in front of people saying he had a little dick. So is this the same story coming out in this email that Kaylee had dated somebody, she humiliated him publicly, and this caused him to go into rage? And one has to ask, and we can talk about it as a panel. Could somebody being publicly humiliated, yeah, I slept with that guy, and by the way, he's got a little dick, he's pathetic, would that cause somebody so much rage that they would want to kill you and everyone associated with you? We can talk about that. But let's continue on with a few more details. What made the email that Harsh read so realistic was all the names of this car arrives at such and such time, and here's who's in the car, and here's who's driving. This is when they leave, and here's who's in the car when they leave. Of the allegations, for example, was that Dylan and Bethany were not in the house during the times of the murders. They were sitting out in a truck. Dylan actually brought Murphy back to the house at 6:30. A lot of these things are things that have kind of been out there in the wind for a while. That Murphy probably wasn't at the house. He was taken out. I think the email even stated that Jack Showalter took Murphy to his apartment and kept Murphy in his apartment until Dylan brought Murphy back at 6:30 in the morning. So there was a lot of these details about timings and who was in what car and all of these different things, which made it super interesting. And the email came with attachments saying, hey, I can show you where these cars leave, and I can tell you who's in the cars and who's driving. It was very, very specific. Now, there was one more thing I wanted to say. There's a graphic detail that got said and something that didn't get said, which is that axes were potentially used, that the killings were committed in part perhaps using axes, not just knives, but axes. For me, that raised a red flag. Are we literally so deceived as a public that not only were not told about the murders correctly, but they lied all along saying it was all stab wounds, and now there's actually axe wounds? Because there's a fucking huge difference, people, between an axe wound and a stab wound. So did we all get lied to in addition about what the wounds looked like? Are they axe wounds, or are they? Granted, we know that the rumors have been out there that more than one weapon was used. So could an axe and a knife been used? Could a gun and a knife been used? We don't know. There has been long rumors, and in fact, Steve Gonzalez came out and said at one point more than one weapon was used, and so it wasn't an axe. There was also an indication in the email that Kaylee's heart had been cut out. Now, that's a fucking problem. Again, how far have we been lied to in this country if they just hid from everybody that her heart was cut out of her body? That would be a huge part of this case, right? It would be huge, because if she was the only one that had her heart cut out, that would be a problem. One other thing before I shut the F up and let my panelists have a chance to go at it is Harsh indicated there's a part of what happened to Kaylee I won't read. That gave me cause to question something. Rumors were way back in the day that Kaylee Gonzalez had been mutilated and stabbed in an area, I will say, above the knees and below the belly. How's that? We won't go into details. And so the part of me was like, when Harsh said, I don't want to read what happened, there was other things that they said happened to Kaylee. I thought that's exactly the kind of thing you wouldn't want to talk about on air. So maybe that's what he's talking about. And again, if that was true, would it not support Steve Gonzalez's point when he said Kaylee's points of damage were different? Her points of damage were different, indicating to me where Kaylee was attacked in some part is different than the others. And listen, Kaylee was stabbed in the face, but so was Xana. Kaylee was stabbed in the ribs, but so was Xana. Kaylee was stabbed in the arms, but so was Xana. What point of injury is different? They don't talk about it. So again, was Kaylee Gonzalez stabbed in a point that is different? For example, maybe a sexual area. That's one of the questions I had. And if that's the case, then again, it leads to motive. Who was the real target? If Kaylee was attacked in a sexual manner on her sexual organs, or her heart was cut out, or anything to that manner that was very different than all the rest of the victims, then no shit, the target was Kaylee. And it suggests, in my opinion, and I'm about to shut up, I promise, it also suggests that the crime was either jealousy, or, like you said, if she had insulted someone's manhood, could somebody wanted to stab her in certain places to get her back for insulting his manhood? So it indicates something personal on Kaylee Gonzalez. So I'm done giving you some of my thoughts.
Yeah.
I guess my summary is, to me, I felt like it was interesting, all the details they gave, but I have some red flags. The biggest red flag, my last comment, my biggest red flag was they said right off the bat, I've been asked by the attorneys not to say anything that isn't already out there in the public. And then I thought to myself, well, then why are you wasting our time? Like, at this point, we need something that hasn't been given. So you saying, I'm going to only tell you things that are already out there in the public, you're telling us nothing. That's my, okay, I'm done. You guys go.
What I would say, obviously everyone's going to be waiting for, I guess Harsh said he was going to do a live, or he'll do a further video. As we are on this show, we're very big about receipts. So what I get from that email, which is kind of what you said, Lee, is that there are definitely some big red flags in some of the comments and some of the statements that were made. But I believe that Harsh was willing to, I mean, he said right away, he's not saying that this is absolutely what happened. There was very, very specific detail about certain cars, certain times, all these different things. So all of this stuff actually, is going to have to be vetted and reviewed and checked. Obviously, some of this stuff we're not going to be able to get a receipt and check. For instance, if Kaylee was stabbed in certain parts of her body, because we don't have the goddamn autopsy report. If we had the actual autopsy report, that
we wouldn't have to be asking these questions.
And is that why they haven't? The case is over, right? Kohlberger pled guilty. Why is it, so long now? Why can't we have a document that just has the official autopsy, the stomach contents, the actual real autopsy? That would put all this stuff to rest. We would know positively 100%. We have the rumors about Ethan as well, certain things that possibly happened to some of his body parts and whatnot. That would be able to give a backing to it. So some of the stuff is very difficult to, just say, oh yeah, this is definitely what happened. So you got to be careful about, believing word for word, like oh my God, yeah, this is exactly what happened. We don't know that. I will say, Harsh did mention that I believe he said there were 10 video files,
Yeah.
10 different video files, and there was very, very specific detail down to the minute and second. Like, this guy is running across here, and this guy does this. All this stuff is going to have to be, checked and verified. And maybe it's maybe some of what was said in the email, actually is true. Maybe there is some truth to it, but we just don't know. We need further info. You can't just throw shit at the wall and be like, oh, hey, that's it. We got the answer.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Joe,
One
you
of
had
the-
something?
Yeah, I was going to say something I've said repeatedly on stream is that it would make sense that the PD and the families would not want certain details to get out.
Right.
One being if sexual assault was involved, the other being if it was if they were bound and gagged, things along those lines. The PD does, and the school, which has a lot of sway over the local police for sure, they wouldn't want that to get out, right? That's like an aggravating detail. Those would be really aggravating details that the school would not want to get out, because they're talking about, students' tuition. And if that kind of stuff got out to the public, you can be sure that a lot of students wouldn't come back to school, and students that were looking at that school, their parents would be like, you're not going there. Just normal human reaction. Right. You would be scared from sending your kids there. So, and we all know, anybody who's followed cases, and it's happened many, many times, the public gets lied to. Right? I have no assumption that people are obligated to tell us the truth. The media is not obligated to tell us the truth. And certainly the police, if they want to keep certain things hidden, and I have personal experience with this where I live, where DA and I you probably don't remember, we've talked about this, where I live, I knew details about crimes that happened that were lied about in the paper.
Yeah.
That I knew. Because of my job.
Yeah.
I knew details, firsthand details about things that happened. And because I live near a resort area, big money involved, they don't want that to get out to the public.
Right.
So look, the Harsh thing, I'm skeptical. DA, we texted about it. I don't buy anything wholeheartedly, but I'll say, hey, this is kind of crazy. Check this out, because why not? You have to look at different information. And I've said all along, what I think will break this case will be a whistleblower.
So, real quick,
JJ,
Joe,
I think you hit the nail. I think the huge thing too. You always bring up the big money, which you just said. Now, they definitely, besides obviously the families would want to keep certain things private but I think the school definitely, if there was some kind of sexual revenge or anything sexual, they definitely would want to keep that under wraps. No.
Yeah,
100%.
I've long felt that Kaylee was probably attacked in that area, and that's what the big secret is. It's the reason why Steve Gonzalez said her points of entries were different. It's the reason why he said there's going to be some details that are going to get ugly in this. I think that he knew that's the big secret they're hiding from everybody. They don't want people to know, because again, it pisses me off because mainstream media tried at some point to shift the narrative from Kaylee being the focus to Maddie being the focus. They completely fucking made up this. I'm so pissed. They completely fucking made up this story about Maddie because she worked at the Greek restaurant, and maybe Koberger liked Greek food. That must mean Maddie was his. And I'm like, really? You're going to shift all the focus away from Kaylee with this bullshit fucking made up story about maybe because he liked Greek food or he was a vegan or whatever. That means that he must have been obsessed with Maddie. It's the flimsiest thing. And yet everyone in America kept telling that same thing. Oh yeah, he was obsessed with Maddie. And I'm like, It has always been Kaylee. It's always been Kaylee, in my opinion. And I think they're hiding what happened to Kaylee because they don't want people focusing on Kaylee because they don't want to explain what happened to Kaylee. Now, real quick, before I go refill my drink and drain the lizard and all those good things, Joe, I did want to ask you. You had an email. I think you had an email or a text from, was it Sherlock Holmes? And here's the thing I want to say. This email said Brian Kohberger didn't do it. We've had many people coming out now, Pavarotti leading the charge perhaps, on the fog light issue saying, look, it's proof. Brian Kohberger's car didn't have fog lights. They fucked up. Suspect vehicle 1, it can't be Brian Kohberger's car. So in that line, this person's saying, look, Kohberger wasn't there. He didn't do it. He's not the car leaving at 4:20 in the morning. The fog light issue. Can you, Joe, read that Sherlock Holmes thing about the VIN number and the vehicle?
Yeah.
Be right back while you're reading that.
Yeah, sure. Let me pull it up. I have it. Here it is. It should pop up here. It says, all right, this is how it starts out. It says, apparently Brian Kohberger has a new defense team, according to Sherlock Holmes. Now, this is Sherlock Holmes' post from yesterday. This morning, I received information from someone close to Brian's new defense team who confirmed that the traffic camera / license plate reader footage of BK's car traveling away south from Moscow between 3:54 a.m. and 4:01 a.m. has been preserved. And then it says, Okay, and is now in possession of Brian's defense team with license plate and timestamp archive and all. They can now prove with hard, irrefutable evidence that Brian's car cannot be the suspect vehicle 1 that enters the King Road neighborhood at 4:04 a.m., nor is there enough time for his car to be the 3:30 vehicle either. They also have cell phone data that matches the same location for Brian at 3:54 a.m. exactly. So it's beyond solid. It's only a matter of time. And then it has some little follow-up notes. It's only a matter of time too. I'm given to understand that they even have hard evidence of the state's attempt to conceal and destroy this footage post-plea, so it can legally be submitted as new evidence in the future. So it's more than over. Brian can now be said for sure to be factually innocent, and I trust this source. The source has never once led me astray. Apparently, it's all anyone's talking about now over at the Innocence Project. This is my understanding of what the source said. So that's pretty crazy. Now,
yeah,
that I saw that on Reddit, and I never just automatically take anything as fact, but we've all talked about this. We've all talked about this very thing, that they did not want the information to get out, that Kohberger was actually going away from the crime scene at the times that they said he was, and the whole timeline thing was constructed because of the white Elantra, or allegedly a white Elantra, speeding away from the scene. And it's one of the most fucking common cars.
There you go.
DA likes when I curse. So it's one of the most common cars probably in the world. A Hyundai Elantra literally is probably one of the most common cars in the entire world. So a white one, no less. So plus, forget about it. When we were there, DA and I, this freaking white cars that look like that
cars
all
everywhere.
over the place.
White cars everywhere, that if you had grainy footage in a white car, any one of those cars in the neighborhood going by, you would think is suspect vehicle 1, which again was Ann Taylor's argument. You are misleading the jury. You're misleading everyone. You say, here's suspect vehicle 1 entering the neighborhood at 3. Here's suspect vehicle. Let the jury decide if that's the same fucking suspect vehicle coming into the thing. You calling it suspect vehicle 1 over and over again is prejudicial. And I want to make one more point real quick because I just feel like fucking ranting ranting for a minute. I said it all along. If it can be proven Brian Kohberger wasn't there when they said it happened, I don't give a flying rat's ass that he pled guilty and waived his appeals and has outrun his appeals. It's over if for that appeal for that plea deal. Brian Kohberger's plea deal will be vacated if it comes out it was impossible for him to been there. I don't give a shit what he said. So for all and that's the big thing. If it's true. If it can be proven Brian Kohberger wasn't there when it happened, it's over for that deal. His plea deal is out the window. And all you sons of bitches out there who said, well, he pled guilty, you fucking dumbass. You're going to eat a lot of shit. I'm going to invite you onto my channel. I'm going to give you a big, gigantic place of fucking dog shit. And you can eat that shit on camera for me because you're going to have to eat shit. Because I'm telling you, if he wasn't there, the plea deal's off.
The one more thing I wanted to say about Harsh's email, that to give it credit, it does connect a lot of the different footage that we've seen, the Linda Lane footage, the different vehicles, the person walking from the Linda Lane apartments, the little key fob thing going off, the people walking and things like that at certain times. And so the question that I have is, after the fact, right? They arrested Brian Kohberger. Right. So they needed to have somebody to calm everybody down and get people back to school and everything else. Is why would they steer away from a lot of the details? Because a lot of the things that regarding the timeline are tailored to fit a certain narrative. The question that I have is why? Why would they
exactly?
And this
exactly. What's so special about these three guys? You know, what is so special to protect what actually happened?
But so that, to me, what I always have been saying all along, in my opinion, is regarding Kohberger, if in fact, let's say there's a lot of hard evidence that it wasn't him, let's say that's going to play out. Right, we don't know yet, but let's just say it is. In my opinion, there can only be two reasons. Either Kohberger was called up to the big leagues, or he was already working for the feds because they needed to have somebody that steered everything away from the University of Idaho, or he was framed, right? But the thing is that, to me, it just seems like, why wouldn't they have asked or demanded, if they believed that Kohberger was the guy, to tell allocute, right? Like to explain why he did it, where was the weapon, to give details, right? Why wouldn't they do that? Well, in my opinion, one of the reasons they wouldn't do that is because they didn't want to add too many things that might come out later that were not true, right? They were probably thinking that shit might come out at some point. So we don't want to add too many details to the mix that can be easily refuted. So I don't know. It's just what I think about is the why.
There's a part. Yeah, I always ask the why. Why is the big question. And I've always thought of the possibility. Now, granted, let me be clear. There's a possibility that the reason why Brian Kohberger pled guilty is because he's guilty. So I want to make sure you understand that. So people who think that I'm an asshole, I'm not an idiot. Yes, Brian Kohberger pled guilty. And when asked the question, hey, I don't want you to plead guilty to something you didn't do. So did you really do it? And he's like, yeah, I did it. So you have to say, maybe you have to take it at face value. He said he's guilty. However, I also believe that he was on a ticking time clock. He needed to file the plea deal and offer a plea deal, or the plea deal option was going to be off the table. And so by taking the plea deal, it's possible even Brian Kohberger's defense team knew that irrefutable exculpatory evidence is going to come out in the future, but they were just running out of time. It will come out. What if this is the case? What if they knew it will come out? Brian Kohberger could not have been there. then you can safely say, yeah, I did it, fuck it, I did it. And you know you're going to walk, because as soon as it comes out proving that you could not have done it, you're out. So was there an incentive to say, look, we're running out of time. If you plead guilty, we know the information is going to come out. It's just not going to come out in time for the plea deal option to come off the table. So take the plea deal, take death off the table, and just wait a little bit, because it's coming soon. Soon it's going to come out. You could not have been there, but we're running out of time, because the judge, Hitler kept pushing the timeline. They kept saying, we don't have time to prepare. And he's like, fuck it, we're going anyways. You're going to go on my timeline. And they're like, we're running out of time. So what if they just said, you know what? We know it's going to come out that he couldn't have been there. So go ahead and take the plea deal. You got nothing to lose. You can take the plea deal and you're still going to walk, because it's going to come out that you couldn't have been there, and the plea deal will be off as soon as you can prove you weren't there. You couldn't have been there.
So
is that a possibility?
Just to address that comment quick. So I know people have their opinion about Ann Taylor, but there are a few of different processes that went on where I believe Ann Taylor could have fought a little bit more, or a little, she could have been a little bit more aggressive. However, I still think, at least from what we've seen and what we know, I would put more of that kind of anger and whatnot towards Hitler, actually. I mean, Hitler wouldn't. I don't know if I've seen another case that has gone. I mean, there's plenty of cases where, some of the judges seem very one-sided, or to that extent. But this was like so far off the deep end. I mean, Hitler wouldn't budge on anything. I mean, look,
No.
we've talked about it on here a million times. Look what he did. He wouldn't allow the defense. So you have two big things. All right, you have the Cy-Ray issue, which is huge. The Cy-Ray thing, the fact that he was just tossed out like yesterday's lunch by Hitler, with the defense having the receipts and the credentials, like how you cannot say that this guy is a professional. Like, he is the not a person. He is the person who trains, law enforcement departments and experts around the country on cell phone, data and all this stuff. He's the person who created the stuff to do that. That's one. And the second big thing is the defense had an expert, a crime scene specialist, saying that more than one weapon was used, cleanup was done. It's impossible that, there's no way that one person could have done with the amount of injuries, the nature of the injuries, the time that they're saying that this crime happened. It's impossible for just Kohlbergers to have done this alone. So even if you want to go by the narrative that, okay, sure, let's say Kohlberger was involved, Hitler still wouldn't even take an ounce. He wouldn't even take a little bit that there's alternate perps involved in this. Oh, that guy can't be involved. He doesn't. There's no way you could. He has to have a car. He's got to do this. He's got to, like, all this nonsense. I mean, there's so much evidence. There's stuff, again, crime scene cleanup. Crime scene was messed with. All different things that went on in this case. But the evidence, from the documents and the evidence that we actually have, we know that there's unknown male DNA that's there. And from Dylan's own mouth, from her own interview, whether she's involved in this or not, what did she say? Oh, there was a deep clean. We did a deep cleaning. Oh, but it was last weekend, for the parents' weekend or whatnot. But they did a deep clean, right? Well, if they did a deep clean, then we don't know 100%. But high, more often, I would believe probability that if there's, random specks of blood and at different locations, and it has unknown male DNA, that would be from an alternative perp. So that would pretty much be, to me, reasonable doubt. It would cause a reasonable doubt. Now, just because you prove that there is another person involved doesn't mean that Kohlberger did not do it. But still, the fact that Hitler he didn't want to listen to anything about alternative perps, and the evidence is there. It's all there.
Well, the local.
So I want to.
Robin,
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I've never seen a judge or heard of a judge before who just totally protected and helped the prosecution at every turn. It's astounding to me.
One of the obvious things that I always bring up is that area, and in Idaho in general, not just Moscow, a university has a lot of sway in the state that they're in, right? It brings in a ton of revenue for not just the local area, the state, tons of revenue, tax revenue, all kinds of revenue. So tourism revenue, a lot of things. Universities have a lot of power, more than a lot of people realize. So look, man, if you have big dogs from the university that have their PR people and they have their fixers, and every big corporation has that, and universities, make no mistake about it, they're corporations. They're going to have a lot of sway over judiciary, over legislation, over law enforcement. So in my opinion, it's not surprising at all that they would be steering everything about this case, right? Not just the suspects, but what evidence can be presented, what witnesses can be presented, etc.
I want to give everybody an update on something. A question was asked a while ago. I wish you would write to the Kohlbergers. I have written to the Kohlbergers. And here's the thing. I told you a while back, I've been tracking everything. I wrote a while, and I was hesitant to do so. I'm a firm believer of letting the families and the victims be alone. I don't want to be the person to harass them in their time of grief and all these things like that. But enough time has gone by now, and various different reasons. I decided to reach out to the Kohlbergers to let them know a little bit about where I stand and what I'm trying to do, and to see if they'll reach out. Here's what I was going to tell you. I have a new update. I searched it while we were talking. On December 20th, my letter to the Kohlbergers, sent via certified mail so I can prove that it was picked up, was undelivered. And there was a notice that they were going to make another attempt. I just checked on the website. That letter has been successfully delivered to the Kohlbergers. So they have received the letter.
Nice.
So one of the things I want to ask you, they received it on December 30th. So they've had it just for a couple of days. I want to ask in a straw poll real quick. Do you want me to read to you the Kohlberger letter that I sent to them on air, or whether you already have heard it or you don't really care about the letter? But if you want me to read it, I'll take a straw poll real quick. Do you want me to read the letter on air that I wrote to the Kohlbergers? They have received it. It has been picked up. It's been certified mail, so we know that it was picked up by somebody that was intended to go to. So it did reach its intended target. Again, what's weird is on the polls, I'm not seeing the number of votes. All I see is 100% yes. How many votes?
It's like you got about 60 votes, 100% for yes. So
far. Oh, 60.
Yeah,
okay.
Like 60.
Well,
60
I guess that kind of
60 people voted. Yeah, 62.
All right.
60.
Yeah. I don't know what's happening with my polls. It's only showing me the yes,
yeah. You got at least half the chat wants you to read it.
67. Yep.
Okay. Good enough. Well, let me end that poll because I think we got enough on that poll to say that you guys want me to read it. So here is going to be my letter to the Kohlbergers. This was, again, just delivered 2 or 3 days ago, December 30th, and it was received by certified mail. Again, I hesitate to do things, but here's how it reads. Mrs. Miriam Kohlberger sent to their address. Dear Mrs. Kohlberger, my name is Lee Farrell. I'm an independent researcher who focuses on constitutional issues, civil liberty violations, and matters involving transparency and accountability in criminal investigations. I'm writing to you with the utmost respect and understanding the unimaginable stress and grief your family has endured. I want to state clearly at the outset that based on my review of the available evidence, procedural record, and investigative irregularities, I believe your son Brian is factually innocent of the crime in which he's pled guilty. I have reason to believe that he was pressured into accepting a plea agreement in order to avoid what appears to be an overwhelmingly unfair, unconstitutional, and potentially unwinnable fight against a prosecution that, in my assessment, was proceeding without critical safeguards of due process. Because of the number of concerns raised by handling of Brian's case, I have formally requested that the Idaho Office of Attorney General open a criminal investigation into the investigative conduct, evidence handling, and interagency coordination that led to his arrest and prosecution. I have reason to believe that multiple agencies or individuals may have engaged in conduct that constitutes criminal wrongdoing in the pursuit of Brian as a suspect. I'm reaching out to you not to burden you further, but to extend an opportunity for communication. If you or any member of your family would like to speak with someone who is actively working to bring transparency to what I believe was a deeply mishandled case. If you wish to discuss the situation, I can be reached at, and I gave them my phone number, or by email at the address listed below. Additionally, and only if you feel comfortable in doing so, you may consider encouraging Brian himself to contact me. If he is permitted visitors, I would make myself available to, at the earliest convenience, to meet with him in person, to better understand what pressures he faced, and to document any information that could be vital to ensuring accountability in this matter. I also want to express my heartfelt sympathy to you and your family, regardless of public reception. The weight that you have been forced to carry is something few can comprehend. I recognize that this remains a painful and uncertain time for you all. However, I must also emphasize that there is an urgency in pressing this issue now. As you know, evidence can be lost or destroyed, and the window for holding agencies accountable for procedural violations grows narrower each day. If you choose to reach out, I will treat any communication with the highest regard of confidentiality and respect. Thank you for taking the time to read this letter. I wish you peace and strength to you and your family. So there you go. That's my letter to the Coburgers. So for those who don't know, I did make that attempt. Hope that it is well received, and we'll see. We'll see if they write back. I see, Robin, you said something about be respectful. What happened in our chat? Something horrible?
Well, we just, not towards you, but we had a comment about one. And I'm trying to figure out whether someone's just joking around or what.
I think they.
We're not going to tolerate that.
I think they joking around.
Yeah, I think.
Well,
we'll give them a warning.
Sorry.
Give them a warning. It's all right.
That's right.
So cross your fingers, folks. I've heard rumors that Brian's family does not actually believe that he's guilty. I've heard rumors, in particular, his father does not believe he's guilty, despite the fact that Howard Bloom wrote a book saying, hey, look, his dad knew right away on the car drive back that he suspected his son was probably the one that did it, and had his nerves about that. The whole thing was a shit show. There's reason to believe the family does not believe he's guilty, but they've had to shut up about it. There's suggestions online that Coburger's family actually does watch some of the true crime channels out there. So for all we know, they could be watching us right now. So cross your fingers, people, that that the Coburgers accept it well, and that they consider reaching out. And if they don't, there could be a reason why. Like maybe they've been advised by a legal team. Don't engage anybody. We got this. There's something coming out. You don't need to reach out to YouTubers. So that may not happen anyway.
You brought up a like an interesting point there. What I find super interesting is with all this stuff that's coming out, these different documents and the 230, the 330 video, which is more so we're focused on the audio than the video, obviously. But where is Steve G? Where is Kaylee's sister? I mean, they were going nuts like every day, like all over the place. I'm just shocked that we haven't heard anything from them. And
here's the thing: I'll say this out loud, maybe because I'm having too many drinks on a Friday night. But I know a lot. I know how a lot of people feel about Steve Gonzalez, and I'm sure Steve Gonzalez probably thinks that I'm a piece of shit. But let me tell you this: if Steve Gonzalez were to watch this, let me tell you this. I want to know the fucking truth as much as you do. I honestly believe Steve Gonzalez I think Steve Gonzalez believed in his heart, my guess is Steve Gonzalez believed in his heart that Brian Koberger was involved, but he didn't think he was the only one. And Steve Gonzalez was promised that Brian Koberger was just the start. They would go after everybody else, and the plea deal robbed him of that ability to go after the other people. And I think he's pissed about it. And if that's the case, I would fucking love to sit down and talk to Steve Gonzalez. I'm on your side, man. I want the fucking truth. I want the people who are accountable held accountable. So
that's what I'm like.
just what it is.
I'm baffled that they haven't, been around, like going live or doing anything about any of this stuff that has come out. It's pretty shocking. We can't hear you.
Again,
I did not touch it.
Yeah, his mic does not.
All right, sorry about that.
All right, we hear you.
One thing I wanted to say to that is, it's, again, if you think the way that I think and you know the things I've talked about, if the university wanted to steer away from certain things, or the feds wanted to steer away from certain things, it's not out of the realm of possibility that the families of the victims got a nice little piece, if you know what I'm saying. You're talking about big money, right? So in my opinion, that is something that's a very real possibility, because if there is in fact a lot of fuckery going on, like I think most of us would agree there is some level of fuckery, you have to consider the possibility that they were told, look, you play nice, go along with this narrative, and you'll be compensated for it. Just speculation, hypothetical. But when I say it all the time, people are probably sick of hearing me say it. When big money's involved, people get paid. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm taking a quick. Somebody asked if the Gonzalez's lawsuit against Pullman, Washington, WSU had any traction. I'm going to take a real quick to see if I can find out. You guys can talk while I'm typing this real quick.
Right, and that's a good question too to bring up. So, JJ, with that in mind, I agree with you that this is a campus town and they pretty much kind of control like everything. I agree with you. With that in mind, though, with what you just said, that could it be that they said, you got to go along with this narrative. Don't worry, you'll be taken care of. But then why, how would, the Steve G and these, some of the, they're going after the campus now. They have a lawsuit. How would
that? But is that also U of I, or just WSU?
The lawsuit.
They went after. Right, you're right. They went after where Koberger was.
Right. Yeah. Because I'm just saying, like,
you're right. You're right. That is true.
Because if U of I wants to steer clear of certain narratives, like, one of the things,
and the basis of.
Go ahead, DA.
Well, the basis of I think the basis of the Gonzalez's lawsuit against WSU is basically because WSU has documented that Koberger was a problem and he might have been misogynistic and he might have been harshly grading females. It was because of the documented history and including supposedly a very incriminating email from somebody inside WSU that said, Brian Koberger is going to be a problem in the future. If we let this guy graduate with a PhD, he's going to be a problem in the future. And they're using that as a basis to say, look, you guys knew and admitted this guy was going to be a problem and you didn't do anything about it. Therefore, we're suing you for millions of dollars because you didn't stop what could have been something that could have been stopped if you just had followed up on your own intuition.
Yeah, I mean, it's so...
And I don't think there has been an update in the case.
Yeah. It's so hard to know because there's so many things that could be just noise. Like the lawsuits could be noise, right? Yeah. They could have been told, yeah, you file these lawsuits. You got to keep this going, keep the narrative going that it's Koberger. And that would be one way to do it. If you sue the university where Kohberger was, keep the noise going about Kohberger, because I don't know, man. It's just there's a lot of money on the table with universities. There's so much money. Like it's more, I mean, I know most people know this, but they're major sources of revenue. Universities are massive sources of revenue.
Right.
And big money steers things the way they want it to. And so I don't know, man. The Gonzalez family, I don't know what to think. I've been baffled by some of the things that I've seen and the way that they act sometimes. I don't know.
Cat's Mojo's question, why haven't we heard anything from the Kohbergers, especially with all the latest documents? And I would say, honestly, in my opinion, that is not really all that unexpected, especially if legal actions are being worked for Kohberger's behalf on the back end. They would be advising the family to just stay out of it and keep out of the limelight and don't make it, because anything they say could potentially hurt what's coming. So a lot of sides are told, both sides are told, shut your mouth, don't talk to the public because we've got stuff in the works and you talking could prejudice our case. So it doesn't surprise me at all that the Kohbergers are remaining silent about the issue because, and in fact, let me tell you my tip, my gut feeling. If the Kohbergers felt this was truly over, and that their son's been convicted and is going to spend the rest of his life in jail because he is the killer, by now they probably would have said something. I think it actually might be telling that the Kohbergers aren't talking, because that might mean there are things in the work and they know that there's things in the work and there works, and they're being asked to just wait for the process and don't compromise what's going on. So if it was truly over, I would suspect we might have heard from them by now. But I think that they may be holding their tongue because stuff is in the works.
That's a good call, dude. When legal shit's on the table, you're getting advised. When big money's on the table, your attorneys get a piece of that pie for civil lawsuits. So they're getting a lot of advice. And somebody else just said, I apologize, I didn't catch who said it in the chat. It's because of their lawsuits that they're keeping quiet now. And it's right in line with what you're saying. I agree with that.
Keep in mind too, people, I kind of, did I talk about this already? Or is it anyways, keep in mind, people, there's a difference between criminal cases and civil cases. We may see a civil case related to Brian Kohberger that comes out that will force a lot of things into the light. And I'll try to be brief on it. A criminal case focuses on, did this law get broken, yes or no? It really doesn't care about all the issues behind it, the systemic problems, corruption. It's a yes or no thing. Did they commit the crime? Yes or no? That's the criminal part. A lot of times what makes a victim whole is the civil lawsuit. And in the civil lawsuit, it changes from guilty beyond a reasonable doubt to the preponderance of evidence. And a lot more stuff will come out in a civil trial. So again, I've often asked, is there a civil trial coming forward soon? And that civil case is going to shake shit out. Because again, the criminal case was just did he do it? Yes or no? And the plea deal kind of ended the criminal portion. That there could be a civil portion, and already there are civil portions coming, right? The Gonzalez's are have filed a civil lawsuit against WSU, but there could be a civil lawsuit coming on multiple fronts that are going to shake out exactly what happened and I think my gut tells me law enforcement made major blunders in this case, and the civil lawsuit is going to shake that out, that they made major blunders in this case. And as I was telling Robin behind the scenes before we went live tonight, I said, here's the key takeaway. Let me give you an example. I've got 5 letters sitting on my desk right now, 5 letters ready to go to the post office first thing Monday or whatever when they open up, that are going to ask for Idaho State Police, Moscow Police, Latah County Prosecutor's Office, the Coroner's Office, and the Communication 911 Dispatch. Those are the 5 letters going out tomorrow to ask them a very clever procedural question. Do you have procedures that outline the order of a criminal investigation in which the coroner is needed to be notified? When does the coroner arrive on scene? Who should be first? What? And do you have procedures that say when the coroner is supposed to arrive and when they're supposed to be led into the scene? If so, please provide those procedures and the logs that show you followed your procedure. Because what we're being told in the public is they did not follow procedure. So this is going to put things in a really bad situation. If they have to admit we didn't follow our own procedures. For example, if it's true, Bill Thompson had Kathy Mabbitt, the coroner, show up at noon and told her to stay out of the house for 4 hours and she didn't go in. And if their procedure says the coroner should have come in right away and she didn't, they didn't follow procedure. And so what you do is you say, how are we supposed to, in the public, think you got the right guy when you don't follow your own fucking procedures? The procedures are there to ensure that you get it right. And you're breaking your own procedures every step of the way, which I believe we know they did. We just need to prove it. So if they broke their own procedures, how are we supposed to trust you did it right? Because the whole reason the procedures are there is to make sure you get it right. But you didn't follow your procedures. So maybe you got it wrong.
Lee, did you mention the body camera that when the coroner was on scene?
Which,
or no? What?
I didn't. If you want to talk about that, yeah, go ahead.
No, well, it's just that's how we know that she was on scene, because he says to stay on the side, so it's right there on the body camera. So I'm just curious, like,
and from
their answer to you, if they're going to be like, oh no, she got on scene at you know. But even if they're gonna double down and say no, she got on scene at 5 o'clock. Okay, well, you still went in after Bill Thompson then.
Right, because here's what I figure they're going to do, and part of me thinks, like, is it a bad idea to telegraph everything we're doing ahead of time on a live where they can be watching it and going, oh shit, DA is going to file this and here's what he's trying to go for? Is it a good idea to do that, or do they just not have time to watch fucking devil's advocates? But the point being is that, because here's the thing, here's what I think they're going to try to tell you. Oh, we did notify the coroner. The coroner arrived right at such and such a time, and they're going to try to hide the fact that Kathy Mabbitt was told not to fucking go in the house. But what they're going to tell you is, yeah, the coroner was notified first, and she arrived at such and such time. What they're going to try to hide is they told her not to go in the house, and she didn't go in the house for like 5 hours. That's the part you have to push on. Well, did she go into the house? Does your procedure say that Kathy Mabbitt needs to go in before the prosecutor, or needs to go in and do? Did that happen? So they're going to try, I think, to play games and be like, oh yeah, coroner was notified. That's why she shows up at 12 o'clock, and try to ignore the fact that she was told not to go in the house for like 5 hours. You know,
right?
Guys, Robin, 1-1, and DA. I say this a lot, but in the context of what we're talking about, why do you think, in your opinions, there's so much fuckery or apparent fuckery in this case? Because there has to be a reason why. It can't. I don't think under the circumstances that we've all seen with this case that there can't be a specific overarching reason why there's so much fuckery, why there's so much misinformation. Like, there has to be a reason. And
I agree.
Like, so that's what I go to all the time. Is it the school? Is it the feds? You know, what is the reason why so much information has been inaccurate pretty clearly, and why the public has been misled so much? Like, in your opinions, what is your
I will
big
give you
reason?
I'll give you my answer, but I want to answer this question real quick. Lee, do you think that Kathy Mabbitt was supposed to go in? Yes, I do. Determining the timing of death is critical. The sooner the coroner can go in and see the bodies, the better the coroner can determine the time of death. Having the coroner not go in first ahead of everybody else and make a determination of death and stuff like that is a major problem, in my opinion. And I would imagine their procedures do say Kathy Mabbitt should have been in there very, very early, first thing, to make a determination of death and make some rulings on that. And she was held out for whatever reason. So that, to answer that question, I do think she was supposed to go there. But that's why we were asking. Now, to your question, Joe, why? Because you're right. That's the $1 million question I always ask. Whenever you come up with this theory about, oh, they're covering shit up, I always say, why? Why did they cover it up? It's not good enough to say they covered it up. You need to have a logical explanation of why. And I think the best I can do so far about why they covered it up is something I say a lot. They already know what happened. They knew what happened before they went to that crime scene. And an example of that would be if they knew the house potentially was going to get hit on a drug retaliation. There was a hit coming out. Somebody was a CI in the house or whatever, and they were watching and protecting that house, and it happened right under their nose. They may be incentivized to hide that they let that happen right under their fucking nose and their protection when they knew damn well it was coming and they still failed to stop it. That would be an explanation in my opinion, about the why you lie from the very start of this case, is because you knew what happened and you fucked up. And now you're trying to cover that you knew what happened. That would be my answer. Anybody else want to take a shot about why they're
Robin, what do
lying?
you think, Robin?
I think you're spot on. Something happened that was not supposed to happen, and it would be an embarrassment. It would open up everybody to lawsuits. It would open up potentially compromising other investigations in the area. It is this, to use your word, Joe, it is a hot ball of fuckerage going on. and right now, yep, that's exactly what it is. That's more clear. It is a hot ball of fuckerage. And you told me to say that and
Fuckers.
and that's why people are always like, well, how would you write it? Well, this is how I would write it if you want to keep people in suspense, because here we are 3 fucking years later. And yeah, so I think you're spot on. They know from the get-go what was going to happen, or absolutely what did happen, and so now they're backtracking to cover this and that and everything else. So
yeah, we need to get one's opinion too about why, if he got a separate thing. But I wanted to address this real quick before it goes away and we talk for a half hour. Do you think Tisdale and Rosedale were there to watch the house because there was a threat already on the kids? Yes, that's what I'm saying. I think that's possible. I think cops were around the neighborhood and watching that neighborhood because they already knew something was going to happen, or they suspected something was going to happen, and that there was extra patrols, there was extra shit going on. That's my suspicion. My suspicion is they were watching that house and it happened right under their fucking nose. And that became a huge embarrassment, and they don't want to have to admit how much they knew, how much they were involved, and how much they didn't stop what they were watching. They were literally watching it. And that's my guess. It's a guess. I can't prove any of that, but it's my guess.
And who better to, once shit did go down, they're there. Who better to do damage control?
Yeah.
To start damage control than those two that are right there.
And look,
I
just thought of this. I just thought of this. Remember, I say all the time, you don't ask questions you already know the answers to. Now, I just thought of this just now. If you know what happened, and you know that Jack DeCoeur isn't the guy who did it, maybe that's why Jack DeCoeur was ruled out so quickly. Because they know damn well Jack didn't do it, because they know what happened. They know what happened, and they know who did the killing. And that's why, perhaps, somebody that should have been the obvious choice from day one was so quickly ruled out. And maybe even ruled out without even doing any real research, because they didn't need to do research. They already know it wasn't him, because that's I guess one way to look at it is the reason why he was ruled out, because they knew what happened. They knew what happened. They knew he wasn't the guy. So they're like, look, we don't have to look at Jack DeCoeur. It wasn't him, because I know exactly who fucking killed the kid. And maybe they're hiding that from us all along, because they don't want to have to admit that they know who killed the kids.
Well, before one gives his take on it, one has said all along that Tisdale and Rosie was there, like, at the house at some point that night. And it's very possible that they knew some shit was going down, whether it be related to the other BK. Because remember, there's been a lot of rumors for years that they were watching that house. That's been something that's gone around that we'll probably never get the truth about. That if there's a multi-jurisdictional task force, a multi-agency task force that was hip to the area, then they were probably aware of that house, and they could have been watching that house. And if something went squirrely and there was law enforcement officer at that house that night, that would also steer the narrative somewhat. And I've been saying this all along. The reason why the roommates and Jack D and Jack S were not really, they probably had to look into them. But the reason why they, perhaps at least they weren't looked into that seriously, is because, like you said, DA, they knew this went down and they had to run cover. So why? Is it BK? Is it my theory about the military and that Payne was a fixer? And that's why he was brought in, because they had to steer the narrative away from a very significant PR thing that could have been related to the military. You know, I mean, I think about that a lot. Is that, and just for the record, I don't think Harsh's thing that he talked about, that could just be noise. That could be, as I always say, flooding the zone. Someone reaching out to somebody with information that steers the narrative away from what maybe some people are talking about, which is the other BK. Because the PR is a real thing. And the government and the military has unlimited resources when it comes to PR.
Yeah. Speaking of that, by the way, speaking of the Brent Kopacka, Koberger connection kind of thing, Brett Payne and Kopacka, for those who aren't familiar, I did get a disappointment. I got a response back from the federal government on records for both Brett Payne and Brent Kopacka. And I feel like they gave me the runaround, which was weird because they did answer questions early on about Kopacka and his terms of service, and then they gave me pages. But the last request I asked, which was more specific about their two overlaps and stuff like that, they came back and said, sorry, your request doesn't provide enough information. Please provide us their social security number or some personal information so we can identify what soldier you're talking about. I'm like, I don't fucking have their social security number. That's PII. Why would I have their social security number? So they basically came back and said, sorry, we can't find the soldiers you're talking about without more information. Like, and they listed like date of birth, which I thought I gave them, or social security number, which I didn't give them, but I can't give them the social security numbers unless we have some really good detector sleuths out there. So now I got to try to reformulate and make sure I've got as much information as I can give them and refile it and say, look, date of birth is this, expected dates of service is this, because again, it just felt like they gave me an easy bullshit answer. Sorry, I'm not sure who you're talking about. You need to give us more information and give me their social security number. Well, of course I can't have their social security number. That's PII. So it was bullshit. But
yeah, I mean, what happened to 1-1, man? I think there's a conspiracy happening right now. I think 1-1.
Yeah, he's muted.
Kidnapped.
His camera's off.
He's ghosting us.
1-1's a busy man.
I
get that. I get that about him. I think he's a busy man.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why he is.
I always say, like,
Yeah,
he's definitely a vampire. Sometimes I send shit to DA and I have to clarify, like, I'm not saying that I think this is what it is. I'm just saying this is something that's out there.
To think about.
Yeah. I still maintain with 100% confidence that this was some kind of an op. I think the feds were involved, and that is why we were being lied to, and a lot of misinformation was being put out there, and a lot of things that, Papa Roger and all this other shit was being floated around, because the feds are notorious for flooding the zone. So what do? If you're Candace Owens and you're trying to expose what happened to Charlie Kirk, the feds can flood the zone and have people reaching out to you as sources. And, nobody has more resources and potential for creating disinformation and all that kind of stuff than the feds. So I often think that a lot of the horse shit we get fed comes from the feds. And that's why the media is
Someone
always all in on whatever narrative they're told to push.
Yeah. So True Crime Unleashed says, can I answer a question you had? By all means, please do. And in fact, if you want to, please come up and actually answer the question live. If you don't want to answer it live, put it in the chat and we'll talk about it. But let me make sure that everyone has that invite link again, because I want to give you an opportunity to come up and say something. Hopefully you see by now we're pretty easygoing people, and we ask questions on both sides, and we're willing to even correct ourselves and go, maybe I'm fucking wrong. So it's not like we're locked into something. We're willing to hear anything you have to say. So if you've got some information you want to share, answer a question. By the way, for those internet sleuths that are out there, if you happen to know any information that you can give me in an email to help me, it would be appreciated. And what I talk about is Brett Payne served in the 82nd Airborne. We know that for sure. And so if you want to give me his date of birth, that'd be fantastic. We do have a guest backstage, so we'll get you in just a second. Thanks for joining us. So if you can get me his date of birth confirmed, which I thought I had, and any other years of service, whatever, I can help them refocus that FOIA request for proof. Again, and for those who don't know why I'm trying to do it, is I'm just trying to see if there was any potential overlap between Brett Payne and Brent Kopacka. They both served in 82nd Airborne in the same combat division, which didn't even exist until 2006. So there's a really good chance they did serve together, but I wanted to get proof and receipts. So, all right. So Unleashed is backstage. I saw you just turned off your camera. I just wanted to give you a wave at me. You good? All right. Let's bring you up. All right.
Hello.
All right. What's up?
Not too much.
Hey,
welcome.
Thank you. I have my own channel. I'm also in Dago's live chat most of the time. I'm also on this panel. I think Juan wanted to see me on this panel a couple of times.
Cool.
The question that you had earlier about why the guilters aren't looking at the docs is because in their mind they feel that the state has the right person, so they don't really care about the docs, because they feel that they have the right person in custody, and in their mind the case is closed. So that's why they're not looking at the new docs.
Right.
Sure. Yeah. No, I mean, I agree. There's a heavy bias, and a lot of, I hear it all the time in America, right? People are like, I don't know why you idiots are talking about this case. He pled guilty. That is the end of the story. And a lot of people in America don't seem to understand our judicial system is set up in such a way that people plead guilty to things they don't do all the time. But there's a lot of people who just don't get that. So yeah, I think I agree. Like a lot of people who are the quote unquote, as you say, guilters, they're happy to put this to bed. They've got the answers. They're like, they literally are dumbfounded why we're still talking about something that's done. The guy pled guilty. It's over.
Yeah. I've been on this case for almost 3 years, and I've seen shit in this case that makes me go, what the fuck? And
yeah.
I was a pro burger when I first got into this community. Now I'm more of a truth seeker, and what I'm seeing in these documents just validates more and more that I don't think that this guy did it.
Yeah, and I'm super happy to hear, like, people that keep an open mind. I love it when people say, hey, I thought such and such a way from the first get-go, but I asked questions and I kept digging, and I'm not sure. That's like to me, that's a super sign of intelligence and integrity that a person can, because so many people, once they've decided what they think is true, they get confirmation bias, right? So they only see things that confirm that they were right all along. We love to feel good about, I was right all, I knew it, I was right all along, and it makes you feel good. So it says something about a person who can be like, hey, I used to think this way, but the more I look into it, the more I'm like, maybe I was wrong. That's something that not everybody can do. So kudos for anything that you've changed along the way, for being open-minded.
Yeah. I just want to say, I think you're doing a really good job, DA. And I may not have been in chat the whole time, but but I have been like watching you for the past few months, and I think you're doing a really good job. You and Robin and Juan and JJ State of the Deep. I think you guys are doing a really good job, and keep doing what you're doing, man.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that very much, and thank you for joining us on stage and sharing that. And I think you said you came over from Dago's community. As you've heard many times, I feel like his community and our community are the same community. We just didn't know each other. We're like the lost brothers that didn't know we found our lost brothers. So our communities are very similar, and so it's super cool to see more of his audience engaging with us and vice versa. So thanks so much for that.
You're welcome. I'd love to jump up on panel with you again sometime. I gotta go put a Barbie house together.
All right. Yeah, sounds good. Do the family thing. We'll see you again. You're welcome anytime. Thank you so much for stopping in and giving us something to talk about. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
You're welcome, guys.
Take care, man.
Good night.
All right, I cut him off in the mid sentence. So, oops, I'm an asshole. I didn't even give him time to say goodbye. But it is what it is. I'm sure he will forgive me on that. But yeah, so if anybody else wants to take a shot at coming up and saying hi like that we would really appreciate it. It's always nice to have. I mean, we end up as a group saying a lot of the same things over and over again, although I think we do actually offer something new almost every single night. So, but it's always best if you guys throw us something that we haven't talked about. So yeah. And I guess we lost 1-1 entirely. Like 1-1 has been camera off, mic off for the last like freaking 40 minutes.
DA, I hate to keep asking you this, man, but when are you going to post the video of you pulling into the Moscow PD parking lot? I mean, that is gold.
Do it live.
That is gold, and you just keep on burying it, man.
I know. Well, I'm super. So all it is I'm super disorganized. So when we got back from the trip, I took all those big, huge document or data files, the videos, and dumped them to a hard drive. And then my hard drive on my computer ran out of space. So then I moved into a.
You're fucking dropping the ball, dude. You are dropping the ball.
I know.
Anybody who was in the members only live that night will be like, dude, what the hell are you doing, man? You gotta. That was like one of the funniest.
Do you even remember what night it was? Do you remember what night it was we did that?
Oh man,
do you remember what night that? I don't remember exactly what night it was, but it was hysterical. I mean, we're sitting there and Joe's like, "We're in front of the police station. What are you doing?"
And then DA pulls
trying to find shit in the car, and oh man,
he's like, "Oh
great.
yeah." I'm like, DA, you stopped in front of the Moscow PD to change your battery, and he goes, "Oh, hold on." I'm like, "We got to get out of here," and he pulls right into the parking lot of the PD and gets out of the car, and so I'm like, "Dude, what the fuck are you doing?" I'm like telling people, I'm like, we did not plan this. I promise you. That dude, you got to get that piece.
Okay. I wrote it down on a piece of paper next to me. When we get off, I will try to spend tomorrow digging through the hard drive and see if I can find it. I wish I knew what night it was. I can't remember. Like were we doing a live? Live members only live at the time?
I'm almost positive. Yeah, we were doing a live.
Yeah, it was a members. I'll try to look for it too, DA. I'll try to look for it too.
Okay.
To figure out which night.
Because I'd like to show it. It just you know how hard it is to comb through hours and hours. We recorded for hours. So I'm like, can I even narrow down what night it was and what time?
I'll just look back to the members
around 10 o'clock at night. Yeah.
Yeah, and we weren't drinking. We were driving around.
No,
we were
drinking.
sober.
We were not drinking. Yeah. Yeah,
no, dude,
totally sober. We didn't get hammered until we got back to the hotel room and did the. And do you remember? And I don't even remember. We had a few drinks. We had a few drinks in the room after we got back. We did not drink and drive. After we got back, we had a few drinks. We kept the members only live going, and there was some kind of some couple that was on there that they lived in the same house, but they weren't really a couple. But he was teasing about tying his girlfriend up, or the girl that was living with them up. Remember that whole thing? We were just having a great time with it.
Yeah, Mike.
And then I don't remember those people ever engaging
Mike
again. It was a great night.
What's
it was
his
fun.
wife's name? Oh my gosh,
it was hilarious.
L.A. Mike and Oh, I can't remember.
L.A. Mike.
It's terrible.
L.A. Mike
L.A.
was the
Mike.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, L.A. Mike
Yeah.
and his yeah, they were because they were talking about tying each other up. They're in the same house, you know, like a room apart, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
hysterical.
Yeah, dude, that
So,
night, like,
I'm gonna-
wait, I
Yeah.
just want to say this to piggyback off what Robin was saying. Those members only lives were hilarious. Like, for me, I can only speak for myself. Were so funny. The shit that people were saying in the chat
It was great.
while we're driving around. Like, we're just driving around. Then we get back to the hotel and we had a boxed wine.
A box wine.
Yep.
We had a boxed wine.
A
Yeah.
giant boxed wine thing. And we're like, let's have
It was
some
not my
boxed
finest.
wine.
It was not my finest moment. I got a little trashy. I think I got a little trashy and
Oh my gosh, it was hysterical.
not my finest moment.
Read the damn chat.
Yeah, guys were
Oh yeah,
abusing
read the
me.
damn chat, Joe. Can you read the fucking chat? Read the chat.
People were abusing
Yeah, a
me
lot of inside
because I
jokes.
was talking about something that they already talked about in the chat.
Yep.
And I was just like, what are you talking about? I'm reading the chat. And then I caught
hold
on.
the camera straight. Hold it straight.
Yeah, yeah.
I caught on.
Holy
like-
shit! 1-1 got back. What the fuck? Where have you been, man?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to take a wicked piss, and I needed some
That had
A
to be a
positive.
real wicked
I needed some O positive blood.
Oh.
We left you hanging on asking your opinions about why you think why they would have lied about this case from day one. Did you want to still riff on that from way back when you left? Can you believe I just remembered that was the question he left on as why they would have lied about the case? From
Why
the very
did
first
who
moment?
lie? What
But
everyone?
Why?
MPD,
Why? Yeah. Why did MPD cover up? If you believe they kind of knew what happened, why would what happened that night? Why did they lie about the details?
Because I think it's because from the evidence that I've seen, at least laid out, I'm we mentioned this. I know sometimes on the show we bring up the same thing sometimes, but that's the only way sometimes to hit home with it. I have never said on the show that I believe Rosie and Tisdale had anything to do with the homicide. But I've seen enough evidence that definitely has me believing that Rosie, he was at that house between 3:30 or 3 and 3:40. He was there. Now the question is, we've brought it up, we've mentioned it many times. There's a lot of ways to look at that. If is it possible? We've heard the rumors. Did Kaylee have some kind of thing going on with one of the officers? I believe Rosie was in his 20s or mid 20s. It's not like he's 50 years old. Did he have some kind of thing going on? We saw some of the previous body cameras, right, of the noise complaints. He took a picture of her license. Now is that proof that he had something going on with her? Absolutely not. That's but
It's weird.
could something be there? Absolutely. But I believe in my heart that Rosie was there. Do I think that he's the one that killed Kaylee or he killed anyone? Probably not.
So
But
that's
they were there. They were there, and I believe, and I think that has other than the money aspect, and I think JJ's right about that with the big money trying to hide some parts of the crime and whatnot. Would they let out? Because again, just look, our favorite word, fuckery. Look at this and I know Lee, you're it's in some like kind of some of the letters or some of the stuff that you're requesting. Look at this 2:30 to 3:30 footage. Where do you see an unmarked car? Where do you see this from this document from Tisdale explaining, the path that they took around? I don't see an unmarked car. I mean, you can say like, oh, they want to hide.
That's why I was going to ask you.
Yeah,
I was going to ask you, like, I know, like me, brevity is not your strong suit. I say that in the best of things because I'm not fucking good at being brief either. But I need to ask, like, you talk a lot, right? You talk a lot about, I believe Rosie was there, but you haven't really laid it out much. Do you want to try to succinctly lay down your reasons why you're convinced Rosie was there that night at 3:30 in the morning?
Well, it goes, I'm going to bring up everyone's favorite person. Pav did it. He did a really good video, probably about, I don't know, a month or two ago. And in that video, he doesn't say, he's not saying, oh, Rosie, he thinks Rosie and Tisdale, that they did the crime and all that. But
right.
Watching the head, one of the things he's very good at, if you watch his video, and I think he's on, you can basically tell where a car stops based on the headlights and the rear and the lights that appear in the window on 1119. If you watch the 1112 camera, you can tell from where cars are. If it turned on this street in the back, you would see the lights go this way or that way. So that along now, there's extra info. I know you can say, like, how can you trust Molly's info? She did say she saw a tan car. She basically described Tisdale in the car. Who she described was Tisdale in the car. Now, like, why was that going
spiky
to be,
reddish hair or blonde?
Why
hair?
was that going to be used to describe Kohlberger? I think that was just their, Bill Thompson's, extra, like, oh, we got a witness that can place Kohlberger there. But clearly, and so based on watching the cars go around from the timeline that we have, and also it would match too from Molly's timeline where she would have been in the back of the house and walking up. She would have been right there with the tan car as she described. She saw Tisdale, but she doesn't say she saw two people. She saw one. She just saw Tisdale. Where is Rosie?
Right, and didn't we get information that the officers were texting each other about?
Well, that's the thing. We don't that this is the unknown. Is that 100% proof? Is this definitive proof? No, it's not definitive proof. If it was, I would say it is. Even if
it's enough to convince you,
right? Even if you got the text messages, and you got a voice log, a call log from Tisdale and Rosedale, that's still not going to be 100%. But you have to put logic together. If you see a text message, obviously between Tisdale and if Rosie messages Tisdale and says, I'm going to be done in 5 minutes. Go around, come pick me up. Well, what the hell is he saying? Go around and pick me up. If there's no text message,
that's a big.
And if there's no text message where we can definitively see what the message is, it's still a huge thing. Why would Tisdale
and don't forget,
you always stay with your partner. You stay with your partner. So why would Rosie be calling Tisdale?
Right, and Ann Taylor was specifically asking for all cell phone communications between the officers, and very specific officers, because I think Ann Taylor also wanted to know what the fuck were those two officers doing, and why are they texting each other if they're together in a squad car together? Why are they? So I suspect Ann Taylor was on that as well, and Ann Taylor wanted to get
I think
that. And I don't know that she got it in the discovery.
Right, and I think watching their car from the timeline that we have, of course, I don't 2:30 to 3:30. I don't know where their car is. It's completely like erased. or they're
Yeah.
just lying about where
Well,
they were. However,
before we go
yeah, go ahead.
before we go too long, I want to make sure that we know we have a guest backstage, and I want to bring
Yeah.
them up and let them know that we acknowledge that they're there waiting. So
I'll be done. I'll be done shortly. So Tisdale is kind of, I'm pretty sure I don't know. I guess he stayed in one spot for a little bit, and then he begins to start driving around. I don't know if that was just, oh yeah, we're still kind of, to make it look like he's still surveilling the area while Rosie is at 1122, to make it, he's kind of in the area, but just kind of like driving around a bit, probably. And what's just super interesting about that is, if I remember, I believe it's kind of around 350, somewhere around there, that he probably leaves. I don't know if he leaves through the back or wherever he left, goes back with Tisdale, and then right after that, I believe it's like around 352 or 353, something like that. Around that time period, I could be off a minute or so. That's where we hear the infamous gun rack guy. So whether it's a gun rack, whether we want to say it's whether we want to say it's gun rack or not, or trunk, there is someone. There is someone who walks across, the Linda Lane camera towards the Queen's apartments, which would lead.
All right, so let's do this. We got our friend Fiji backstage. We got Gabriella backstage as well. Let's bring Fiji up first. I know. So we got them stacked and racked. Now it's time for our panel to kind of like take a little backseat and let our guests come up. Let's do Fiji first. Give her a chance to give us a question or a comment, and then we'll bring Gabriella up next. So, Fiji, are you there?
I am. Hi guys. Happy New Year's.
Oh, happy New Year.
Hi, Happy New
Happy
Year.
New Year's.
So, I have four points. I'll kind of make them quick and see what you guys want to talk about. The first one would be CG made the comment early on. At least Kaylee does not have to testify in the federal case now, which no one has ever acknowledged or talked about. So that's interesting to me. The second one is when Washington, my son went to WSU, the lack of information with the SWAT going in to take out Kabaka was just insane. And when Brian Kohlberger was pulled over twice, the first thing his father said was, about, Kabaka being taken down. Very interesting. I think that's huge. Just huge to me. I don't know.
State the part about the Kopaka again. What did you say exactly?
Well, WSU. So, everything, I'm on.
Oh, the car drive when Michael Kohlberger talked about Kopaka? Is that what
Yeah. That was the first thing. And then, you don't get pulled over for following too close 2 times. Come on. That just 2 times. That was obvious there. I don't know. No one's
real quick, Fiji, you've got a couple of comments, and one of which I want to get clarified while you're online with us. And keep in mind, we've now got like 3 people on. Well, we got 2 people
so the first one, that federal one, no one has ever talked about that.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you about. So you said Steve Gonzalez made a comment. At least Kaylee doesn't have to testify in the federal case.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Do you guys? Does anybody in the panel remember that? I don't remember that. What's the context?
He did. Yeah, he did say something. He was kind of like, I think we have talked about it before, but a while ago. And some people are saying, like he wasn't really meaning, that she was. It was a weird comment. I took it as an awkward comment. So I know exactly what Fiji's talking about.
Was it said recently, like towards the end of the investigation?
No,
it was
beginning.
Early in the case,
it was a while ago. Yeah.
Very beginning?
It was at the beginning.
Right.
Yeah,
at the beginning. Okay.
early days.
Unfortunately,
Because it is-
Fiji, I
because
don't
it is
remember
known-
that. I don't remember
well,
the context. So
because it was a known thing. She was into a few things. She was kind of into true crime, and
yes,
she also I don't know definitively, but there was a lot of rumors that she was also kind of like investigating some of these, suicides and deaths or whatever that happened with some of like the fraternity,
But what was the
I'm
federal?
also
But,
investigating those.
but what
Right.
was the federal case that Kaylee was going to have to testify?
Right. Well, yeah,
That's
he
the
didn't
interesting
say
thing.
anything. Yeah, he didn't say anything further than that.
But I'm just curious.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is.
It's very curious to me. Is there a connection? I don't know.
It could be. It definitely
All right.
could
So
be.
here's
You're
what I'm
not-
going to
you're
do.
not wrong.
Here's what I'm going to do. Because we got people stacked up. Fiji,
Okay.
I'm going to let you go. I did write a note about that. I want to find that clip. So if anybody knows what Fiji's talking about, sounds like several panel members have confirmed they've heard that
Yeah.
as well. If
Okay.
anybody can find the clip or the
It sounds-
context of Steve D talking
sounds
about
like
that, I
a-
want to hear it from
Sounds
myself.
like a
before I
task for
comment.
Amanda. It sounds like a task for
Yeah, Amanda's
Yeah,
great.
she's got everything.
Amanda's on
All
it.
right. Thank you, Fiji.
Okay, have a
Thank you,
good night,
Fiji,
guys.
for the
Thank
questions.
you.
Have a good one. Yeah.
Night.
And real quick,
That's
before I bring
horrible.
up Gabriella, I do want to comment on I want to comment briefly, and I'm not, like I said, the one. I'm not good at brevity. When
No, come
when they
on,
were pulled
DA.
over, come on. Look, so when yes, many people questioned when Michael Koberger and Brian Koberger were pulled over on the way from Pullman, Washington to Pennsylvania before he was arrested, and they were pulled over. A lot of people made a lot out of how quickly Michael said, "Hey, there's a shooting on campus, and it's crazy what's going on campus, whatever." And people asked, "Well, how could they possibly have known about the shooting on campus?" I play devil's advocates with myself. So what I will say is, this is what I've done for my own research. A campus-wide notice went out to students that night saying, "Shelter in place." There's an incident going on campus earlier in the night, and it did not say anything about a shooting or anything like that. Afterwards, another notice went out on campus to the entire people who signed up for alerts that the shelter in place has been removed and that the operations could return normal because the incident had been resolved. Also, nothing mentioning a shooting. Now, what that tells me is this. Koberger's phone, if he was signed up for alerts from the WSU campus, would have gotten both of those alerts. There's some kind of incident going on campus, shelter in place. He would have also gotten the notice that it's over now and there's no shelter in place. What we don't know definitively is if Koberger texted anybody and said, "Hey, what's going on? What happened on campus?" Got a phone call. None of that's known. So when when Michael Koberger says, "Hey, this guy got shot," my first question is, well, how the fuck did you know he got shot? Because the messages don't say anything about a shooting. It doesn't say nothing about a shooting. So I was first skeptical about it. But to play devil's advocates, we don't know what transpired, and we don't know how they heard about it. They indicate that they were listening to the news. So then I would have to do some double checking to say, did any news agencies, did ABC News or CBS show up on campus and talk about the shooting that night? And was it aired on TV? Was it already on the radio? I don't know. I've never done my due diligence to find out what it is. So I know what you're talking about, Fiji, about the confusion, but I want to clarify one thing. In my opinion, Michael Koberger or Brian Koberger never said Brent Kopacka's name. They talked about a shooting that was on campus, but they didn't mention Kopacka by name. So I just want to clarify that I don't think, unless anybody can correct me wrong, I don't think he ever said anything about Kopacka. It was just kind of a generic shooting. Now, let's bring Gabriella on stage. Gabriella, can you wave at me and let me know you're ready to go? All right, sounds good. We'll bring Gabriella up for a question or comment. What's going on tonight?
Hi.
Hello.
So I
Hi.
think Fiji has a point there with that surveillance with the cops and being stopped twice. I believe in certain people being targeted, and targeting has to do with like bad people messing up your life, whether it has to do with like directed energy weapons or gang stalking or just messing up your life. There are
Yeah.
the people that do that to people. So I believe Brian could have been targeted, possibly for his skills. And
Bird.
he could have been a bad for people in the future, especially in the field he was going into. But so I think Fiji had a point there. So that gathering surveillance of him, body cam footage would be used later. Oh, look at this guy! Look how he acts. When he's just a high functioning, super intelligent guy. Okay, so anyways, I wanted to ask you guys, what is your opinion on why Dylan is already during her interrogation, she's already saying, the dude that I saw, even though he was wearing masks and stuff, was about yay tall and the bushy eyebrows, like already explaining, like who talked her into that already at such an early stage.
She never said it. She never said bushy never said bushy eyebrows. So just to be clear on that, that was That was kind of pushed to her to say. She never when she was asked in an interview, she never came out and said, "Oh, I saw bushy eyebrows." It was mentioned by whoever the detective was that was the cop that was interviewing her.
Well, maybe we could play that again, but I'm pretty sure I remember her saying bushy eyebrows with no one leading her into it. But but I have family going to sleep, so I'll just say good night and thank you all for fighting for justice.
Yeah,
good night,
everyone.
You bet. Take care of your bird. I saw your cute little bird on camera, so thank you for the question, and we'll riff on that a little bit.
Pie. Good night.
Good night.
All right. So listen, I want to talk because here's something that's really interesting. So so as most of us understand it, Dylan Mortensen's first statement didn't talk about the bushy eyebrows.
No,
it wasn't
it did not.
Follow-on interviews that the bushy eyebrows came up, just like the balaclava came up, and later, was he wearing the balaclava like this? Oh yeah, maybe he was wearing a balaclava like that. So she was, in our opinion, she was led into some of those by follow-on interviews as they did this. One of the things that we don't talk about a lot, and I want to see if you guys remember this. It's so funny. We don't even talk about this anymore. Do you guys remember that Dylan Mortensen supposedly had an obsession with bushy eyebrows, and that had drawn pictures in her room? There were pictures of guys with bushy eyebrows that she claimed that she watched a lot of true crime, that she had, I wouldn't say fantasies, but dreams about being chased by guys and whatever. And so she had pictures, an obsession with bushy eyebrows. And do you guys remember this?
Yeah, I saw the pictures of the drawings.
Yeah.
That's
and I
nuts
think
to me.
there's even a picture. Yeah, there's a picture, I believe. I don't remember what number. There's a picture, I believe, in the bathroom that they kind of like redacted part of it, and then you can almost kind of see it from like another picture, but it's a different angle. You can't really make it out that well. But yeah, that was like kind of a wacky thing that came out, that she had this kind of obsession with bushy eyebrows.
This is one of
is the one that said about the bushy eyebrows. She's the one that first started that. Apparently.
Yeah, that did not. The first interview on scene, she never mentioned bushy eyebrows. I know that 100%.
Well, two of the things that we just talked about, the two police stops with Kohberger, Brian and his father, and the bushy eyebrow thing, were some of the things that reinforced my belief that Kohberger was working for the feds. Because number one, with the stops, I believed, and this is like when that first came out, who gets pulled over twice within like 10, 15 minutes for following too closely and doesn't get a ticket, just gets a warning? In my opinion, they were just trying to introduce Kohberger to the public. Here's the guy. Here's the white Elantra.
Yeah, it's a good point.
All right. Thanks, guys.
You're right.
Have a safe trip. And then the bushy eyebrow thing. Oh, yeah. The guy, whoever. I don't know that much about like how that was introduced to Dylan. But it's like she never said that on her own.
No.
Like we never heard that in any of the interviews or body cam footage. So it's like that was introduced.
I'm going to meet you. I'm going to meet you halfway. I'm going to meet you halfway on the stop. I've always, a lot of you keep saying, and I get why you say it. I don't buy that he was just pulled over twice in a short period of time frame. That's not a coincidence. I don't necessarily think that's out of the question. I've seen people get pulled over multiple times. And again, it was two different agencies that pulled him over. So one pulled him over, and when he said, hey, I was just pulled over by, and I can't remember what he said, but he gave the description. They said, well, we don't have one of those kind of vehicles. And then they're like, oh, you must have been pulled over by like staters or whatever. So he had been pulled over by two different agencies. It wasn't even the same agency. So I don't know that that's not outside of the realm of possibility. Having said that, it's very well possible they were trying to rattle his cage and see what happens. See if he would give something up. Would he get nervous and show signs of guilt because we're pulling you over? And would he panic in the moment and do something? So I can go both ways. I can see why maybe they pulled him over because they knew who he was and they were trying to rattle him and see if he would give something up or act suspicious, or like you say, introduce that kind of suspicious, paranoid behavior to the public on camera saying, hey, look, we pulled him over and look how fucking nervous he looks, because they figured they'd rattle him. But I also don't know that it's outside the realm of possibility that he could have just been pulled over twice in a short period of time. I don't know.
With this case, anything is possible. I mean, that's kind of the lay of the land with this case. But to me, it just, all right, forget about the two separate agencies. What are the chances? One would be able to speak to this. What are the chances that two separate law enforcement, agencies would pull a guy over, go through the trouble of pulling a guy over for following too closely, and neither one of them would give him a ticket? I mean, logically speaking,
it's really low.
It's, in my opinion, it's very low.
Yes.
Like one of the two, if it was real, would have given him a ticket just by odds alone. It just statistical odds. The probability that both of them pull him over and be like, okay, have a nice day.
It's such a weak reason too to pull him over.
Right. So if you're going to go through the trouble of pulling a dude over for following too closely within a short span of time, two separate, cops pull him over, it just seems highly unlikely to me that was done by chance. And I've always felt that, because I do believe that it's possible that Kohberger was working in conjunction, at the very least, with the feds. They were trying to introduce, this is our guy. Look, everybody, look at the white Elantra. Look at this guy. And so, in my opinion, it just seemed very unlikely that those two things would happen in such a short span of time by chance.
Yeah, those are good questions. And so, it's like you said, anything is fucking possible in this case. We do have Dylan Mort backstage. I normally wrap up in a couple hours. Let's take another caller, but a caller or whatever you want to call it, another person on camera. So hopefully Dylan Mort's ready to come up. We'll bring up another person, see how it goes. But we're probably getting closer to wrapping up. Let's get at least another guest. If you guys want to join, again, if we have more people that want to join, I'll probably be incentivized to keep it kind of rolling for a while. But for the now, let's kind of see if Dylan might be our last guest. But I just put out the link again, inviting more people. Well, if it goes, there it goes. All right, let's bring Dylan Mort up. What's up?
DA. Happy Friday.
Hey. Thank you. Happy Friday to you as well.
So how's everyone doing? What do we got? The Queen on the scene, King of the Cliff.
Yeah.
State of the Deep, and I'm in frozen shock phase. So give me 8 hours and I'll be right back with you guys. Sorry, I was at dinner, but and there's a body on the ground. Shoot. All right.
Well done. Well done.
Anyways, happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Going back to that FBI thing, and no, it's not a coincidence. How many cars in 2025 get pulled over for following too closely, and let alone in the same trip? It's improbable. Okay, so now we know that those stops were planned, right? By who? Well, that's a federal thing. That's not the state. So then we figure out who in the feds is investigating the case at that time that he gets pulled over. Well, the feds in Washington aren't looking into the case. It's a 4-person murder in Moscow, Idaho. The feds don't care about it, right? To think Brian Koberger is some kind of fed while he's in school at Washington State University, this guy's a loser. Stop thinking he's some kind of wizard fed. That's just not happening. Now, the feds are tracking them, but there's only one fed involved in the case. That's the guy who's sharing the office with Payne, right? He's a fed. He's tracking the car. He's tracking the phones. There's your fed. That fed has access to different cops and officers across the country. And if he says to them, I'm a federal officer in Moscow, we are looking into a murderer, potential murderer. Can you please stop this guy and check him? That's what they're going to do. Now, they can't tell us that because that's against the law. They're looking into Brian Koberger. That breaks up any kind of, DNA they're fake planting on anything. So there's where it's coming from. It is the feds, but let's start getting more specific on who it is. It's not some big organization. This is Moscow, Idaho. This is not some big conspiracy. This is Moscow, Idaho. Okay. There's one federal agent sharing an office with Payne, who's leading the investigation. Now we know who our ringleaders are. Okay, Nick Balance. Oh, look at this. Now we're putting dots together, guys. We are working on Friday nights. Now that I've had just a minute of your time and already put some dots together, you guys maybe will trust me moving forward, unlike Birdie, who just has all these yahoos on spitting shit all the time. So let's look at Balance and Payne as the ringleaders here, and then we'll work down, and after we get out of the frozen shock phase. Like going down all these different rabbit conspiracy holes, I'm not letting it happen in 2026. We're going to focus on Showalter. We're going to focus on Balance. We're going to focus on Payne. And we're going to focus on fucking David Loesch. And then we're going to figure out who did it. We're going to free Brian Koberger, and we're going to move from there. If you don't get me 50 fucking subscribers on my fucking YouTube channel so I can do this, I'm going to be pissed. God damn it.
Well, first of all, I have no control over who subscribes to your channel, but fair. I will tell you this. There's some things that resonate with what you said and some things that don't. I will say this.
What doesn't? I don't care about what did. What doesn't?
Sure. What doesn't resonate with me is Brian Koberger's a fucking loser. Let's keep in mind, Brian Koberger was
cool
a PhD
dude
candidate.
You think he's a cool dude?
Hear me out. Just listen. At DeSales University, one of his professors had only recommended 2 people to the PhD candidate program, and he was one of them. She thought he was a brilliant.
10 years in a 10-year period too.
He's not an idiot.
I didn't say he wasn't smart. I didn't say he wasn't smart. Come on, DA. Let's be accurate here. I said he was a loser.
Dude, you only know what you've been told about him.
Did you see his apartment? Did you see any of his friends? Did you see any of his girlfriends? Was he out there kicking it? You think he was if you think he was a cool dude, then you probably think he killed them.
I never said he was a cool dude. I'm saying all you know about Brian Koberger is what you've been told about him.
Right.
And if there was a federal operation involved, everything we've been told could be horseshit.
Okay, so he's a real chill dude, just cruising across the country. He did not seem a little weird and quirky when he's getting stopped by police asking weird questions to her. Get out of here. If you want to play the game of everyone in this country is just cool and chill and like only 2 people have been whatever, get good on. Go with you. Some people aren't cool. That's okay.
When did we say he was cool?
It's
Wait,
okay.
when did anybody say
he was cool?
Hold on. Let's chill. Let's take it down a notch. I'm going to provide some counter, and we'll see how it goes. So keep in mind, Brian Koberger, according to, and I don't know, set aside for a minute how you feel about Howard Bloom.
According to no one, according to you, what have you seen?
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying what I read and saw. I saw interviews. Listen, I saw interviews. Brian Koberger went to that pool party early on and got multiple women's phone numbers. Those women have gone on TV.
You believe in that Dateline shit, dude? You're believing that Dateline shit and people going on TV, these paid actors, dude? Get the fuck out of here, DA. Come on, let's look at the facts. Don't listen to these bogus people on TV. That's like listening to Nancy Grace. It's just on the other side. Oh, DJ at a party? This guy is a loser. Come on, guys. He was out driving in the middle of the night by himself, taking weird selfies. This is not a cool dude. Picking up girls, getting numbers? Okay, bro. Get out of here. This is college. It happens sometimes. To make it seem like Brian Koberger was any kind of a normal dude, like the people on this panel or anyone else, is inconsiderate to the fact that he's locked up. He's not one of us. He can't fight for himself. He is a slightly autistic dude that's really smart, wanted to help the criminal justice system by investigating shit, but he's not a cool dude. Get the fuck out of here, guys.
Who
Start
said
being
he was a
real
cool
about it.
dude? You keep saying that.
Yeah,
Who said that?
I said loser, and then you tried to say he's smart. I said he's smart. So where am I
Right,
wrong
but wait,
again with that?
dude, you're talking shit because
All right.
nobody on here has said he's a cool dude.
All right, go on.
right,
with
hold
your
on,
point, DA.
hold on.
Where did I miss? Go on, DA. Where did I miss with Brian Koberger? I
No,
don't
no,
even know
no,
why
so
you're bringing
listen,
up Brian Koberger.
I'm-
He's got
I'm-
nothing to do with the murders.
All right, so hold on.
Go on.
I'm gonna respectfully answer your question, but I'm gonna remove you from stage because I want to do this. You're shouting over top of me, and it's when we're losing control of having a civil discourse. So since you aren't listening to me when I talk to you, and you keep shouting over me and saying I'm an idiot and I'm not, that's not conducive to a conversation. So out of respect, I'm removing your microphone so that we're not shouting over top of each other. All right. Look. A subjective opinion about whether he's a loser or not is a ridiculous point. It's non-material. I was trying to provide to you, if he was such a loser, again, the narrative that they painted on mainstream media and Dateline NBC and all these things is he was an incel that couldn't get laid and couldn't make friends. And this is the narrative they keep trying to tell you all the time because it makes people feel good. He was a loser. Nobody liked this guy. He had no friends. When in fact, he had friends. We have documented people that have said they've been friends. He went to parties. He hung out with people. In fact, people on those, and if you don't want to listen to it, that's fine, said this dude was a player. Like, this guy's going out getting numbers. I wanted to get this girl's number, and he got her number first. So that's the counter to your opinion that the guy's just nothing but a fucking loser. Because if he was such a loser, he wouldn't have friends. Again, let me counter again. And the reason why I have to mute you is because you won't let me talk. At the campus, he had a woman who wanted to be like his girlfriend and actually invited him over to, and she went and stayed at his house one night when she thought that somebody had broken into her house. She stayed at his place. She was interested in him romantically. So if he's such a fucking loser, why are women staying at his house for the night? The narrative that media was painting of Koberger is he's a loser that nobody wants to be around. Nobody likes this guy. He's complete incel. He's got no friends. That shit was part of the narrative to make people feel that he's guilty because he's a loser. And so for you to come on and keep telling me the guy's a fucking loser, why don't you admit that he's a loser, is not conducive to anything. Your argument for he's a loser, and I'm trying to give you points that if he was a loser, why does he have friends? Why is he getting girls' numbers? Why are they saying? And in fact, let me remind you, the woman that got the phone number from him didn't say, well, I didn't call him back because I could tell he was a fucking loser. No. She said, thank God I didn't call him back. I don't know why I didn't call him back. She didn't know. It's not because she knew he was a fucking loser. It's not because she saw that he was a creepo. It's not because she was afraid he was terrified and somehow she gave him a number because of some slip of judgment. She actually kind of liked the guy and she connected with him. And she said, thank God I didn't follow up on the date. So that's why I'm trying to counter with you. He's not a complete loser, or he wouldn't be out there getting girls' numbers, and they wouldn't have to wonder about why I didn't call him back, because they would have said the same thing you did. Well, he didn't call him back because he's a fucking loser. So,
well, I didn't hear anybody on this panel say he was cool. He was a cool guy.
Right.
No, and there's
Dylan
any other
Moore,
point.
Wait, hold on. Dylan Moore, you're a dickhead because you don't know how to talk to people. And nobody on this panel said, "Oh, Brian Koberger's cool," and you kept repeating that.
Yeah, and let me double down on another point. You don't have to agree with it, but we don't know, and it's just a theory. But from what I know about certain things and JJ, his experience, Koberger absolutely would fit the profile of someone that the FBI or some kind of federal agency would reach out. The point that professor, she clearly said she's only recommended 2 people to whatever, that PhD program. That is someone absolutely that the FBI would reach out to. So maybe he's a little different. He's a little quirky, whatever it is. That is someone definitely that would be high on their radar. So to say like, oh, they wouldn't go, he wouldn't be doing anything with the guy. Actually, he fits the mold perfectly. He didn't want to be a police officer.
Robin
he was into criminology. He was into all the stuff. Yeah, go ahead, Robin.
I want to say this. Anybody who can get a fucking PhD is no loser. Anybody who can hold down a fucking full-time job is no loser. Anybody who is not out carousing, drinking, doing all kinds of other illegal shit is not a loser. Okay? Just because someone's a little awkward, maybe he's not, movie star handsome or whatever you want to call it, that's not a fucking loser. Okay? He's not.
Yeah.
Anybody who can do that is not a loser. So maybe you ought to research your definition of what a fucking loser is, or look in the mirror.
Robin, they got you spun up tonight. Robin,
Yeah.
I've never seen you so heated.
I'm just gonna say real quick.
This guy will do it.
Yeah.
Because
we're
been
not going to
dealing
tolerate.
with his ass
Yeah.
for months.
We're not going to tolerate. We're not going to tolerate nonsense in the chat.
And
So-
I'm not putting up with it.
So if
And
you
look,
want to,
here's the thing.
if you want to,
This
just
is-
1 second. If you want to disagree in the chat, you could disagree, but we're not going to tolerate name calling. So if you start name calling and saying nonsense, you're out of here.
I'm sorry. You guys
and
can
that's-
kick me off because I was name calling.
Well, you're allowed.
Sorry.
I mean, here's the thing. I was taught when I was younger, you've lost an argument when you have to start calling people names. When you start calling people names, you've lost the argument, and now you're just
You're
trying
not
to
arguing. You're not
resorting to
arguing. Then.
frickin' the playground, right? So
Right.
and look, and I don't like silencing our guests. I really don't. But that wasn't a conversation, right? He was shouting over top of me. I'm trying to provide him an answer to why I'm saying he's not a loser, and all I was doing is getting shouted over. So that's not a conversation, and it's not a dialogue. That I want to also take that moment to counter. This is part of the whole reason why the defense was saying it was prejudicial not to allow the jury to know during that mitigation. When they were talking about the death penalty, they were saying, look, the jury needs to know that the guy has autism spectrum disorder, because the average American is going to see his flat affect, him not responding the way you normally do, to that guy's a fucking loser. Look at him. He's a killer. You can tell he's not acting like a normal person. That is potentially a condition of his disorder, right? Of an autism spectrum disorder. Being on the spectrum can present a way that doesn't look normal to us. So rather than judge people on how they look and say, well, the guy, and I don't know what if that guy's position was Brian Kohberger's guilty or not. I don't know that he said he was guilty, but if his position is guilty because he's a loser, then that's a non-starter for me for a conversation. You're starting from a presumption because you don't like the way the guy presents and you think he must be a fucking loser.
No, he seemed pretty clear
he's
that
guilty because he's a loser.
Yeah.
He seemed pretty clear he didn't think Kohberger was the guy. He said
Right.
Showalter. He said,
Yeah.
he named the other
That's
people.
what I thought. He wasn't saying he was the guy, right?
My whole
Right.
point was we never said no one ever said
no one said
Brian
that,
Kohberger's
ever.
cool.
Right.
And he's saying he's not a Fed, he's a loser. Well, to your point, DA, you brought it up. Like the Feds pluck people from
Yep.
high level education programs. It's fairly common.
Yeah.
And if you're a PhD in criminology, you're not applying for necessarily. You're not
the top of the top. You're
Right.
I don't think people understand. Like he's going for a PhD. That's like the top of the top. That is the person that they would go after.
Yeah.
I want to clarify. I want to clarify something because Seahawks fan might be referring to what I just did. if I made this statement, I'm going to apologize right now. If I made this statement, people with ASD don't present like quote unquote normal people, I apologize. That was poor choice of wording. Yes, people with ASD are normal people. What I'm saying is the average person looks at people who have ASD, who have a flat affect, as not being normal. So I don't know if that corrects it in you. I'm not trying to say a person with ASD is not a normal person. What I'm saying is that an average person, like a jury, can view somebody with ASD as not presenting like normal people. So I hope that clarifies it. I hope that helps a little bit, but I'm not sure.
I just want to apologize for getting so heated, people, but you have to understand, I am a neuro spicy person. Okay, I have ADHD, and I have had people tell me, throughout my, well, you're too exuberant, and you're too this, and you're too off the wall, and you can't stick with this, and you can't do that. Well, I have a physiological brain condition. Okay, so I am on a different kind of end of the spectrum, I guess, as you could say, people who are autistic or has Asperger's or whatever. So I kind of understand what it's like to go through that kind of thing. So when I hear somebody call someone like Brian or our nephew who has Asperger's a loser, it just kind of goes right through me. So I do apologize. I'm going to calm down. I'm going to breathe now. But I just wanted everyone to understand, it's not that I'm trying to be a bitch, but I'm just saying, when you have someone come at you like that, and that's, so I just want everyone to understand where I was coming from. And okay, I'm good now.
By the way,
even got JJ fired up.
Seahawks fan said, Seahawks fan said they weren't referring to you.
Yeah, I saw that.
Clarify that. And the only reason I got pissed is because that dude was blowing up at the mouth and about shit none of us have said. Like, none of us have made those proclamations, and he was completely false in his estimations about, oh, there's no way he's a Fed, he's a loser. He doesn't know what he's talking about. So if someone's going to be a blowhard, then I'm going to talk shit back.
And also, like, and I know Amanda's appealing for us to move on from the from the caller. This is the risk you have of taking blind callers on screen, is you don't know how it's going to go. And I'm usually too soft and allow people to say their piece even when it's really shitty or whatever. But I think what got me on that one is, one, it's a subjective term, right? An idea of who's cool and who's a loser is subjective. That's a non-starter. It's not facts. So we were trying to talk facts. What is the fact? Well, he has a PhD, he's working on a PhD. He was recommended. He had friends. I'm using facts. And instead it's like, well, no, but he's a fucking loser. And it's like, well, that's not a fact. That's a subjective thing. That's the difference. We were trying to make it about the facts. Like,
and he's not listening. He wasn't. It's just someone that wants to spout, and he's not listening. You have to be willing to think outside the box. And I'm sorry, dude, but you're wrong. That Kohlberger fits to the T someone that they absolutely would recruit. He was interested. He wanted to. He tried to volunteer for the police department, some kind of thing that they had. He absolutely could possibly have been recruited by them. No question.
Yeah. I mean, you guys, Robin, by the way, I love that shit. I like when
feisty.
The mama bear came out in Robin. Yeah.
No, and I love when, look, man, we're human beings. If someone gets you fired up and they're being unreasonable, it's okay to go off. If people are shit talking and they're not making sense and they're talking things that are nonsense, we're allowed to slap them down. I mean, DA, would you agree? It's your show. I'm just saying, like, I don't get fired up that often. It's just certain things that piss me off. So, Robin, kudos.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to
Yeah,
I banned
no,
someone else too. Someone was coming at you, Robin, in the chat. You probably didn't even see it. I didn't even give you a chance to
yeah,
see
and
the
like I said,
Oh, that's probably a good thing.
For me, you know, to try to let's ease it down and back out of hour 3. We'll close up here soon. For me, again, the key is name calling. At the point that we start calling names, you've lost the argument. You're not presenting then
Yeah,
facts, and you're not
absolutely.
talking about here's my argument and laying it out right. So the two things that went wrong, for a lesson learned for anybody that's out there who wants to be a guest on the show, because I say all the time, look, we're not going to bite your head off. So if you think for a minute that was us biting somebody's head off, let me explain where that went wrong. If you shout over somebody, you ask them for their opinion, they start to give it to you, and you shout over them and don't let them finish their opinion. That's mistake number one. If you're going to ask somebody's opinion, close the mouth and let them finish their thought. If you shout over them, the conversation's over. In addition, if you start calling people name, then the conversation, you've lost the argument. So that's the way I go. Like, you are welcome to come up on the screen. You are welcome all day long to present your argument why we're wrong about an idea or whatever, and challenge us. That's not the problem. The problem is name calling and shouting over people so that they can't talk. That's the problem.
Well, if you're not going to have a discussion,
Yeah.
then
We're fine. We're fine with having a discussion. That's the whole point, to go back and forth. You don't have to believe or follow, everything that JJ says, or myself or Lee or Robin or whoever.
Right.
But if you're going to give your argument, give your argument and then try to back your argument up, and we can have an adult discussion.
Discourse.
That's what,
Heck,
we
me
can
and
debate
one
back
had
and
Jeff
forth.
H on the one night, and we didn't get heated or spun up or
No.
I mean, if he can come up and we're
Yeah, we were able to maintain Jeff H. I don't know how, but
yeah, whatever,
Yeah,
man.
and,
Look, if
by the
someone's
way,
not going to listen,
yeah. I want to address one more thing. I know this is probably not what you guys came for, so I'm really sorry, because I know a lot of you in the chat are not here for this bullshit. But I do want to address something real quick. He did say something about Birdie.
Yes.
One of the things I want to tell you is Birdie and I have a good relationship. One of the things that I maybe don't do enough is defend Birdie when people talk shit about him. And I don't remember exactly what he said about Birdie. He did say something disparaging about Birdie. You're not like Birdie that lets people, I don't know what the fuck he said. But the point being is that don't talk shit about people who are our friends, who I stream with Birdie on a regular basis. I don't remember exactly what he said. To my discredit, I don't defend Birdie enough. I try to maintain a neutral position and be like, you can have whatever opinion you want about Birdie, and that's your opinion. But don't come on my show and shit on my guests, my co-hosts, all these people that I associate with. That was not called for as well. That did set me off. And I want to apologize if Birdie gets to see this. I apologize for not jumping on him specifically for talking shit about you, because that's not called for either. So that shit has got to stop. We can't have that kind of stuff. I do encourage guests, and I do encourage you to say your piece, but attacking other creators, attacking our guests on our panel, attacking their credentials and saying you're not a real cop, you're not a real attorney, you're not a whatever, all of that shit and subjective bullshit and shouting over people, that's not the way we have a discourse. So if you want to have a civil discourse, we love to have you up, but that wasn't it. Okay. Enough, maybe. Let's spend enough of the disruptive thing that happened. What do we want to close on for thoughts to try to get away from talking about what went wrong right there? Anybody? I know we have to recalibrate here all of a sudden.
Yeah.
It's like we're all spun up. A few drinks in, we're like, fuck that guy. Anyways, let's get off that.
Well, I would let
go
me
ahead.
just say this quickly. I don't call people names if they're having a discussion. But when somebody is completely closed off, that's why I get pissed off. With that being said, I think finding it's okay to workshop ideas. That's what we do. Like, all of us have had thoughts and ideas about stuff that we may not agree upon. And that happens a lot. And I don't get upset if people disagree with me. Like, I really don't. Like, I'm okay with debating. And I think that's what we need to focus on you know, we're all on the same page as far as trying to find the truth. And it's okay if we
Yeah.
don't all agree. We have our different theories and things like that. You know, like, so I think going forward, I want to just keep on seeking for truth. And that is, I think,
Yes.
the most important thing.
I want to use your words to close tonight, and that's it. And that's this. All of us here on this panel, and probably 90% or better of our chat, just want to know the truth, and we're open-minded to have a discourse and a dialogue and review all sides of this angle to try to get to the truth. And so we'll ask those questions. What if it was this? What if it didn't happen like that? What if Brian Koberger wasn't the guy? What if it was the ex-boyfriend? What if it was and so we ask those questions because we want to know the truth. There's a desire in us, the panel, this channel, our chat, to understand what actually happened. And in order to do that, we need to be open-minded and critical thinkers. In order to do that, we have to be open to the idea that we might be wrong about our pet theory. And so that's what we try to do here. And that's why I think I want to encourage people to come on and challenge our theories, because we may be wrong. We have ideas, we have thoughts about what's going on, but we may be wrong. And a good discourse in America is somebody who's willing to say, I could be wrong. Let me hear your argument respectfully, like adults. And so let's do that. So I want to reiterate, like I said, what Joe said is that at the end of the day, we're here because we want the truth, not because we want a narrative, not because we want to close our minds to things. We want the truth, and we're willing to talk about it like civilized adults and have that discourse and say, you know, show me where I'm wrong. And I will legitimately change my opinion if you're like, oh shit, I didn't think about that. Everyone on this panel has that attitude of saying, oh shit, I never thought of that. You might be right. I might have to reevaluate some shit. Not everybody can do that. Did you have something, Robin? You were starting to say something?
No, I was actually dodging a cat.
All right.
Sorry,
look, we all got a
jumping
little
back and forth.
we all got a little spun up. It's a Friday night. We had a few drinks. We had a shit go sideways. But you know what? All in all, I think it was still a great show. The discussion about the email, the shocker that came out with this email about whether or not provides new details or not, the discussion about the vehicle and whether or not it's proven and there's good receipts that vehicle proves Brian Koberger couldn't be there. All of these things are really, really great things to consider. I want to encourage you, because I'm selfish, to say, please watch out for my 8 a.m. drop Pacific Standard Time tomorrow. I think I've got a video dropping tomorrow about the similarities that I see, some similarities I see between the Delphi case with Richard Allen as the suspect, and the Idaho 4 case with Brian Koberger. What happens when a suspect is dead versus a suspect is alive? Does a living suspect mean more money coming into police departments to fund a trial, an arrest, a conviction, all of those things? It funds an entire system. Did Bill Thompson's comment about, I don't want this leaving Latah County, I want the money for this to be going to Latah County, and didn't want it moved to Ada County, is that because everyone in the fucking business knows this is a money thing? Prosecuting people in this country means money in the coffers. If you have a dead suspect, there's no money in the coffers. You don't spend a lot of money to convict somebody who's already dead. But we do spend a lot of money to go after somebody and make an arrest, bring them to trial, convict them. All of that costs lots of money. It makes careers. Clearance records make careers. All of these things. And so if you want to hear my thoughts on how our system has an incentive to go after living suspects and to ignore potentially suspects that have already passed because there's no money in it, watch tomorrow's show drop at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Please like and subscribe to this channel. I hope you appreciated my guest, Joe from State of the Deep, JJ. He writes on the stateofthedeep.substack.com, I think. He's going to get a YouTube channel going here pretty soon. Again, 20-plus year NYPD officer offers his support on our channel and gives us insights into law enforcement. Robin, my co-producer and friend that helps me keep my shit together on the straight and narrow. So thank you all for my guests. Do you guys have closing thoughts? I'll go Robin, I'll go 1-1, we'll go Joe, and then I'll just say goodnight and we'll be out. What do you think, Robin? Anything you want to say?
Just make sure you like and like the video, subscribe to the channel. There's all kinds of good stuff coming your way, like the video Lee's talking about that's going to drop tomorrow morning. And just you guys aren't going to want to, you know, you're not going to want to miss anything. So make sure you're tuning in and checking us out. And all good things are coming, guys. All good things.
Yeah, hopefully we're gonna have a great year next year. What do you got for closing?
Thanks everyone for coming out. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We don't push that enough sometimes. We have great info and great videos coming out, all the different cases that we cover. And just to reiterate, you know, keep asking the questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions and debate. That's how you get to the truth. You know, if the narrative doesn't hold up, it doesn't hold up. But keep pushing for the truth, and we all have to work together in a cohesive manner, in a group discussion. Not yelling over each other and calling names. That's not the way it gets done. So.
I'm and real quick before Joe goes, I saw somebody staying up. I don't know if they're over in England or what, but staying up till 5 o'clock in the morning to watch the show. Thank you so much. Sometimes I don't even realize how some people are really, really into our cases and our show and believe and support it. And I don't say thank you enough. So those of you who take time out of your day and stay up late to watch us live and participate, thank you so much for our international audience as well. Joe, do you want to say any good night thoughts?
Yeah, well, thank you to everybody. Thanks to the Den. Thanks to you guys. I have a gut feeling that something's going to break in the Idaho 4 case. I really do.
Sure.
I have a strong feeling that something is going to happen. Something is going to shift. And I've been feeling it for a while now. But let's see. Let's pay attention. And I'm sure we'll talk a lot about it.
All right. So good night to everybody in the chat and to Little Milton. Was that the name of the bird that we just talked about? Gabriella said that her bird was there. Little Milton is the bird's name. So good night to the chat and to Little Milton. And to those of you who are 5 o'clock in the morning in the UK, have a great day ahead of you. Maybe get a nap before you take on your day. Thanks everybody for watching. Have a great night. We'll see you again tomorrow night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, guys.